Chapter 1. New World. On the side of a medieval-like street, sat a boy about 11 to 12 years old, staring silently at the passers-by. I really came to a fantasy-like world. His name was Lioro, a gloomy-looking blonde-haired boy with a malnourished body. The dark circles under his eyes displayed the stress which has been built up over the years. But there was something more to him than what meets the eye. FCK. Why did I come to this world? Lioro cursed loudly in his mind. He was not the original owner of Lioro's body. Overlord. Goddamn skeleton daddy. But a normal office worker from another world. FCK. 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 Cursing loudly at his unfortunate fate. After sending several curses to the invisible being who sent him here, Lioro calmed down and started thinking about his situation, going through the memories of the original host. I actually became Ninya's younger brother. But this character didn't exist in the original. The face of a dead girl murdered brutally by Clementine passed through his mind. Of course, that was set to happen in the future, and honestly, he could think of many ways to simply avoid it. But there was something he couldn't avoid. The face of a villainous-looking noble passed through Lioro's mind. The noble recently took a fancy to his older sister, Erantel Baron. Lioro stopped for a moment. Technically her fate was even worse than Ninya's. Of course, that is if he ignored her later joining the Great Tomb for a lifetime of unpaid, unappreciated work. It somehow became a lot worse, didn't it? The corners of Lioro's mouth twitched before he let out a helpless sigh. Everything is happening so fast. The best I can think of is to somehow convince my sisters to leave the place and run away, but with our current finances, it seems next to impossible to achieve that. He sighed again, thinking about his bleak future. He wasn't even an adult, just a scrawny 12-year-old with twig-like arms and legs. Let's just escape from here first. But suddenly, an unfamiliar panel appeared before his eyes. Ding. Quote. Congratulations on traveling to Overlord, received, Gojo's template. Quote. Quote. 10 comments 0 vote. Chapter 2. Player template. Damn Gojo. Lioro shouted in a loud voice, attracting the attention of the passerby. Seeing the weird gaze everyone was giving him, Lioro blinked and then hurriedly ran away from the place. What a weird kid. After he ran to a more secluded corner, Lioro looked around, making sure no one was there. He concentrated his mind. Then an incredible change happened. His brown hair turned white and his eyes blue, changing to 6 eyes. Who's Bone King? Can he take a hollow purple? No, wait, maybe he can. Calming his excited heart, he skimmed through Gojo's memories. Red, blue, purple, even limitless. Along with 6 eyes, he received all of Gojo's memories in cursed technique. It was amazing. Unfortunately, he didn't receive all of Gojo's cursed energy reserves. It was even a little lower than a 3rd-grade sorcerer. But with 6 eyes efficient cursed energy manipulation, it wasn't all bad. Though that was not all, the surprise was only beginning. Lioro's gaze focused on the panel in front of his eyes. Attribute table. Player. Lioro. Faction value. 0. Neutral. HP. 6 less than 1%, 6 megapixels, less than 1% less than P greater than. Physical attack. 6 less than 1% less than P greater than. Physical defense. 6 less than 1% less than P greater than. Agility. 6 less than 1% less than P greater than. Magic attack. 6 less than 1% less than P greater than. Magic defense. 6 less than 1% less than P greater than. Comprehensive resistance. 0%. Specialty. 0%. Total. 3.2%. Ability table. Natural abnormality ability. 6 eyes. Comprehensive level. 0/100ths. No profession. Experience slot. 0/100ths. Profession. None. Skill points. 0. Passive skills. Prop box. Active skills. Red, blue, limitless, hollow purple, unlimited void. It appeared similar to a game character template. Lioro carefully looked at it, trying to understand the meaning of every section. The first part was pretty common, with the basic HP and MP along with physical and magic attack powers. Lioro's eyes fell on the percentage value behind each attribute. If he remembered correctly, the overall value of Bone King is 683.6% plus. The At the end is because Bone King's magic power has exceeded the limit. The book version mentions that the average magic value of a normal level 100 player is 1,300 points, while the Bone King's magic value is 1.5 times the full value. A normal player starts with 13 in all attributes. Lioro momentarily stopped and glanced at his attributes. Trash. So if all attributes increase by 13 points with each level up, after reaching level 100, all attribute values are exactly 1300 points. But it wasn't that simple because each profession increases different attribute values. For example, the warrior profession will only increase HP, physical attack, physical defense, and agility, while the spellcaster profession will only increase MP, magic attack, magic defense, and special, etc. And the attributes given by each profession were different. Going down, his gaze landed on the natural ability section. 6 eyes. Lioro looked at it in interest. It seemed Gojo's power was recognized. He remembered that natural abilities were a special power that only the new human in the New World possessed. Just like the alchemist kid who can use any equipment without level restrictions. It seems Six Eyes were recognized as his natural ability. About 1 in 200 people possessed the natural ability. The number was quite large, but hardly any of them had an actual useful one, much less a combat-related one. Then his gaze landed on the empty level and job section. It reminded him of the Yggdrasil player template. If it is true, then I can gain classes and level up like a normal player. Lioro's eyes glowed. He wanted to try it out. But he didn't know how to. Just when he was contemplating a possible solution, a different screen appeared before his eyes. Triggering. Medium. Job acquisition condition. Conditions. Satisfied. Posse's curse energy, and curse technique. Triggered the medium job. Jujutsu sorcerer. Do you want to take the job? Lioro stood in silence. This day is full of surprises. Error. Triggering. Special. Job acquisition condition. Condition satisfied. Traverse multiple worlds. Triggered the special job. Dimensional traveler. Do you want to take the job? It was indeed a day full of FC King surprises. The corners of Lioro's mouth twitched. He just asked for a profession and now he got two. Was God listening to his wishes or something? A light bulb lit inside his mind. Maybe God really is listening. Lioro quickly brought his hands together and started praying. Make me immortal. Give me Saitama level strength. And well, maybe even a big-breasted older. No, the first two are enough. Listen to me, God. He shouted loudly in his mind. Then he waited patiently in excitement. Some time passed, but nothing happened. Lioro blinked, then raised his hand and touched his head. His hair was still there. He looked down at his body. It didn't seem like he become immortal. Moving his head around, he didn't see any big-breasted character either. Was it a dud? Lioro thought in his mind, but he wasn't too disappointed. He once again focused on the job selection option in front of him. It just floated there, waiting for him to make a decision. Suppressing his excitement, he carefully looked through the messages. I received the Jujutsu sorcerer and profession because of Gojo's powers, but dimensional traveler. Is it because I traveled through from my original world? But why does it say multiple worlds? I just came to Overlord. Lioro couldn't help but think his system had made a spelling mistake or something. Or perhaps, his eyes narrowed, and an interesting hypothesis appeared in his mind. This isn't my first time traversing. Goosebumps appeared all over his skin. This wouldn't be some sort of multiverse madness bullshit, would it? The image of a certain popular series from his previous world passed through his mind. Controlling his thoughts, he decided to focus on what was in front of him. He remembered the basic job distinctions between Yggdrasil classes. They were classified into 4 types. Low LVL 15, medium LVL 10, high special LVL 5. Low-level professions went up to level 15, medium level up to 10, and high special professions up to level 5. In Yggdrasil, the total number of professions reaches more than 2,000, which can be said to be a very large professional system. Unless it's intentional, the same players will rarely appear. Each level gave 3 skill point, meaning at level 100 a player will have 300 skills, though Ains bypassed it by a large margin, mastering 718 by using the skill, Dark Wisdom. Low-level professions are the easiest to obtain. In Yggdrasil, players could directly choose a low-level profession from the available list. What does that mean? Theoretically, a player can reach level 100 in the blink of an eye if he wishes by simply accepting 100 different low-level classes, all at LVL1, which will add up to the maximum level 100. But Lioro didn't have such a list. And a player like that was extremely weak. Starting from the medium profession, things turned different as they can be acquired by combining some low-level classes or specifying a condition. Similarly, high-level professions need multiple medium classes and low-level classes or specify a condition. As for special professions, let's look at it like this: if a level 100 player had one special profession, then he would become a ranker. As for two special professions, he didn't remember any character in Overlord possessing two special professions. Maybe Touch Me had two in Yggdrasil, but who knows? In short, all special professions have extremely stringent requirements. They require careful planning and hard work to achieve. Or you can get lucky like him and simply pray to God. Also, among the races that players can choose, except for the human race, the subhuman race and the alien race have independent racial professions. Taking the most obvious and strongest dragon race in the other world as an example, there are 6 racial professions: child, teenager, young adult, old age, elder, and ancient dragon. It takes 50 levels to fully upgrade all 6 racial professions, which means that only 50 levels can be used for professional construction. The human race does not have the problem of racial professions, which is both a disadvantage and an advantage, as they also do not have access to race-specific passives and skills. It was a little surprising to him that a jujutsu sorcerer was a medium-level profession, not a high one, but it made sense once he remembered that most jujutsu sorcerers were quite weak. Though he was a different breed because of Gojo's powers. Not hesitating for long, he decided to accept the jobs. Yes, the mid-level profession, Jujutsu Sorcerer, was successfully employed. Occupation, Jujutsu Sorcerer. Level, Intermediate Profession. Introduction, 1% increase in cursed energy efficiency per level, up to a maximum of 10%. Note, each level up MP, magic attack, magic defense increases these 3 attributes by 10 points. The special profession, Dimensional Traveler, was successfully employed. Occupation, Dimensional Traveler. Level, Special. Professional abilities, Passive abilities, High Space Resistance, immune to space attacks Tier 7 and below, 40% resistance to above tiers. Traveler's Resilience, your body naturally resists the effects of interdimensional shifts, reducing the duration and intensity of all negative status effects by 30%. Etheric Balance, increases resistance to all attribute damage by 5%, allowing for greater survivability in different realms. Active Ability, Dimensional Rift, spend 5 levels of experience from any profession to randomly travel to a new world. Cooldown, 5 hours. Career Skills, Level 1, Echo Step, allows 10 short-range teleport, allowing instant movement up to 20 meters in any direction. Cooldown, 24 hours. Level 3, Void Veil, temporarily phase out of reality for 3 seconds, becoming immune to physical and magical attacks. Cooldown, 60 seconds. Level 5, Multiverse Digger, able to access a world's alternate timeline. Cooldown, 24 hours. Growth Bonus, for each level increased, HP, MP, Physical Attack, Physical Defense, Magic Attack, Magic Defense, and Agility all increased by 20 points. Introduction, a wanderer between worlds, neither bound by fate nor limited by reality. The Dimensional Traveler is an entity that exists beyond conventional understanding, a being that shifts between different timelines, universes, and planes of existence. Whether guided by an unknown force or personal ambition, this traveler seeks knowledge, power, or simply the thrill of the unknown. Lioro's eyes budged, seeing the vast difference between the mid-level and special class. He couldn't help but curse, Jujutsu Sorcerer, out loud. Trash. Under his eyes, his attribute panel changed. Attribute table, player, Lioro, faction value, 0, neutral. HP, 26.2%, MP, 36.2.7%. Physical attack, 26.2%. Physical defense, 26.2%. Agility, 26.2%. Magic attack, 36.2.7%. Magic defense, 36.2.7%. Comprehensive resistance, 65 5%. Specialty 150 11.5%. Total 28.3%. Ability table. Natural abnormality ability 6 eyes. Comprehensive level 2 LV 100 LV. Experience slot 0 100ths. Profession intermediate. Jujutsu sorcerer 1 LV. Advanced special dimensional traveler 1 LV. Skill points 6. Passive skills prop box, high space resistance, traveler's resilience, etheric balance. Active skills Jujutsu sorcerer red, blue, limitless, hallow purple, unlimited void. Dimensional traveler dimensional rift, echo step. Resistances all attribute resistance 5%. High resistance immunity to tier 7 and below. Space 40%. A comforting warmth surged through Lioro's body, spreading like a gentle flame. Within moments, his malnutrition body vanished, muscles defining his once weakened form. His posture straightened as his height increased, his sallow complexion blossoming into a healthy radiance. The dark circles beneath his eyes faded, replaced by an undeniable vitality. His white hair and his piercing blue eyes bestowed by the power of 6 eyes made him look divine. Even draped in his old, tattered garments, he exuded an aristocratic elegance, a presence so striking it seemed to transcend the mundane. His mind moved and 6 eyes retracted, making his white hair turn brown again. It instantly decreased his charisma value. Then he turned 6 eyes back on again, increasing his charisma value. Focusing on the panel, the introduction of 6 eyes appeared before his eyes. Natural abnormality ability, 6 eyes. Absolute clarity, enhances vision to perceive all forms of magic and energy. Efficiency master, reduces the mana cost of all spells by 85%, allowing the user to cast magic continuously with minimal expenditure. Additionally, the user's mana regeneration is tripled. Powerful. As Lioro was messing around with his newly gained powers, a threatening voice entered his ears. "Hey kid, you're coming with me." On his right, there was a middle-aged man with an unkempt appearance looking at him with a shady smile on his face. Lioro looked at him with a weird look. "What, did you not hear me? Brat." The man suddenly took out a rusted knife from his pocket and skillfully waved it around in a threatening manner. Lioro fell silent, his eyes blankly at the small and sharpened knife. Hey come with uncle, I'll take you to a good place." Seeing the man making his way towards him, Lioro raised his finger gathering a small amount of curse energy and throwing it at the nearby wall, making large spider-like cracks appear all over it. The man looked at the wall. Lioro also looked at the wall. The man looked at Lioro. Lioro also looked at the man. The man slowly took a step back. Lioro pointed his finger at the man. The man instantly fell down on his knees. Wait, please wait, Master Magician, bring out all your valuables," Lioro suddenly said, cutting him off. What? The man was taken aback. Lioro suddenly shook his finger. Hi KKKK. Letting out an embarrassing voice, the man instinctively covered his face with his hands. After waiting for a moment and seeing that nothing happened, he slowly opened his fingers to peek. Lioro's smiling face appeared in his vision. "Now take out all of your valuables." Still pointing his finger at him. "You're getting robbed." 20 comments 0 vote. Chapter 3. Meeting family. Ignoring the unconscious but naked man in the background with foam coming out of his mouth, Lioro looked interestingly at the rusted dagger in his hand. He came across a very interesting discovery after touching the dagger. Touch the weapon dagger, obtain basic occupation information, thief. Open hollow corner bracket. Are you going to get a basic job, thief? It seems he was also able to get professional from weapons. No. Saying plainly, Lioro placed the dagger inside one of the empty boxes, then looked at the 50 copper coins and 2 silver coins he had just legitimately earned. In this world, there were copper, silver, gold, and platinum coins. 1 silver equals 13 coppers, 1 gold equals 1,300 coppers, 1 platinum equals 13,000 coppers. So he just gained 5.8 silver coins. The expense of a family of 4 for a month is roughly equal to a gold coin. What a poor bastard, Lioro thought in his mind as he placed the man's clothes inside his prop box. Walking back, he exited the alley and started walking down the familiar route. His mind started moving, thinking about various things. Since Ninya has yet to become an adventurer and Suereninya Baron has not been forced into prostitution, it should be about 1 or 2 years before the Great Tomb will arrive in this world. The noble has started eyeing his eldest sister, so everything after that should take no more than 2 years. This gives rise to a very important question. How will Ainz treat a fellow traveler in the new world? He stopped walking and carefully remembered Ainz's attitude towards the new world. In the end for Bone King, it all came down to one thing. The Great Tomb of Nazarick. As long as its safety and interests are maintained, Ainz can be a pretty chill guy, if you ignore his cautious attitude. This can be seen especially in the alternate world of Overlord where Ainz alone arrives in the new world some 100 years ago without the Great Tomb. In that version, he actually became friends with Evely, the princess of the Fallen Kingdom, and roamed the world as an adventurer. Even if I reach LV 100, the chances of me beating the Great Tomb are close to none. Not counting the fact that their numbers are far larger, their equipments are of maximum level, something he can only possibly get by raiding the Dragon Kings or the slain theocracy where the previous players aka old gods once ruled. It was similar to an extremely poor LV 100 going against a Krypton Gold LV 100 player who is backed by one of the largest guilds in the server with multiple world items and crazy props like Wish Upon a Star. I don't have any negative or positive view about the killing or anything Ainz and his group did. He didn't want to be their enemy or their friend. For him, they can rule the world or whatever they want, as long as they kept that godforsaken disgusting torturer Neuronist away from him. That thing is disgusting. It will be an issue if Ainz thinks of me as a potential danger, though we can also end up becoming friends depending on the situation. Lioro frowned. He felt Ainz's attitude would really depend on the situation, and it was hard to grasp it in advance. If it doesn't work out then I'll just leave. Dimensional Traveler. An amazing special class that didn't exist in Yggdrasil, unique to him along with Jujutsu Sorcerer. It came with an amazing active skill to travel between worlds, though he needed to pay 5 levels as a cost. Honestly, seems like a pretty good deal. After walking for some time Lioro appeared before a familiar wooden house. It was his home in this world, a modest wooden cottage in a quiet, rural settlement named Elbeth located on the outskirts of Erantel within the Re-Estais kingdom. Due to its remote location and lack of defenses, Elbeth was vulnerable to bandits and corrupt nobles who could act without consequence. Coming up to the door Lioro was just about to knock when he noticed the door was open. Raising his hand he quietly pushed the door and entered the place, his eyes observing the dark surroundings. Sniff. Hearing the muffled sound, Lioro followed the voice, his gaze landing on the back of a familiar back. Seeing her body shivering from time to time, Lioro blinked and quietly came behind her, retracting the power of 6 eyes making his hair turn brown again. Sniff. Raising his hand he suddenly patted her shoulder. Who? Like a scared cat, Suereninya jumped up in fright, hurriedly turning around and vigilantly looking at the perpetrator. Lioro. She called out his name in confusion, before suddenly becoming angry. You brat, what was that for? Raising her hand she landed a karate chop on his head. It didn't hurt, but Lioro still played along, rubbing his head as if in pain. Suereninya's eyes softened upon seeing his action, raising her hand she gently rubbed his head and said in an apologetic tone. I'm sorry Lioro. Lioro's eyes fell on the tear stains covering her cheeks, it seemed she had been crying for some time. As if unaware of his gaze, Suereninya suddenly wrapped her arms around Lioro and hugged him tightly. Feeling the warmth emitting from her body, Lioro stood still, feeling awkward and not understanding how to react. Suereninya didn't say anything either, she just silently kept hugging him, as if trying to find some sustenance. The situation of the two sisters, Ninya and Suereninya, was quite unfortunate. They belonged to a farming family, and at a young age, their parents passed away, leaving the two sisters and their young brother to fend for themselves. Their hardships can only be imagined. Being immature themselves, they now also have to take care of a baby brother while trying to survive. Fortunately, their uncle's family lived in the house nearby. It was because of their help that Lioro along with his two sisters could survive for so long. That added to the recent instability in the village because the various robbers roaming around made the situation all the worse. The uncle he just robbed was also one of those outliers. He wasn't a part of their village. Seeing that Suereninya was showing no intention of letting go, Lioro opened his mouth before saying in a low voice. Quote. Was it the aristocrat? Suereninya's body shook, With a quick movement she distanced herself and grabbed his shoulder, looking at him with serious eyes. Where did you hear that from, Lioro? Did someone say something? Were they trying to keep it a secret from their younger brother? So as to not worry him since he was still a kid? It was understandable, but Lioro wanted to tell her that the original host of his body wasn't so dumb. With the memories he received he was able to deduce that something was wrong with the noble who kept visiting them constantly these past few days. Even a child could see it, much less him. Seeing her dark expression, he moved his mind trying to think of something. After thinking for a moment, he decided to take advantage of his young age. Stretching his hands he grabbed her cheeks and stretched them. Stunning Suereninya. Wah! She suddenly released her grip around his shoulders. Not giving her time to react, Lioro hurriedly let go of her face and ran out of the house leaving his words behind. I am going out to play bye. For a moment Suereninya looked blankly at the empty house. Then visible anger appeared on her face. That brat! You dare tease your elder sister! Raising her arms in protest she waved them around as if imagining hitting a certain innocent lovely child. Then only a few seconds later she stopped and hugged her knees, feeling lonely and alone, muttering in a small voice. What should I do? After coming out of his house, Lioro ran straight towards his uncle's place. Seeing the familiar figure carrying farm equipment, Lioro ran up to him. Oh, is it Lioro? Seeing him, a smile blossomed on the middle-aged man's face. Putting down his farm equipment he raised his hand and gently rubbed his head. Lioro clearly felt his rough and calloused hand. Edric was a simple man, neither tall nor imposing, but sturdy from years of working the fields. His brown hair was beginning to gray at the temples, and his withered face bore the quiet marks of a life spent under the sun. A typical example of a farmer. Looking at his uncle's sincere expression, Lioro more or less confirmed what he thought before. The reason his uncle and auntie were so nice to them, apart from being family, was because they didn't have children of their own. Or maybe they couldn't have children. Perhaps that is why they showed care for the three siblings, though they were especially considerate towards him compared with his two sisters. But now wasn't the time to think about family relations. Uncle, did you see a rich-looking man with his bodyguard roaming around the place? A rich-looking man. Edric furrowed his brows, remembering someone he had seen earlier who definitely matched the description. Instantly a bad premonition hit Edric's mind. Lioro, tell uncle, did the rich man visit your home? It had only been a few days since the noble started pestering his sister. Since his uncle and auntie worked at the farm all day they didn't know much except for hearing some rumors. And considering his sister's personalities, they probably didn't tell them either. Well, knowing the original route, even if they knew, they didn't do much. After all, they were but simple farmers. Can you tell me where they went? Lioro ignored his question and directly went to the main point. Direction. Edric blinked in confusion before rubbing his chin and pointing towards his left. I think they went there. Thanks, uncle. Bye. Before Edric could react, Lioro took off. Hey, wait. Shouting in a hurry, he jumped up on his feet and chased after him. But then he suddenly noticed something unbelievable. When did Lioro get so fast? Seeing his diminishing figure in the distance, Edric's mouth hung wide open in disbelief. Using Gojo's experience, Lioro made magic run through his legs, instantly increasing his speed. His hair turned white as six eyes took effect, instantly reducing his mana consumption to a negligible amount. Surveying the surroundings, he covered a large distance, reaching the edge of the village. Suddenly he stopped, his eyes fixed on a guard wearing standard soldier light armor with a sword on his waist, quietly standing outside a wooden house's door. Since there weren't any obstructions between them, the guard also spotted Lioro. Seeing that it was only a brat, the guard waved his hand and said in a rough voice. Go away, kid, there's nothing for you to see here. Lioro stopped, he could vaguely hear constant muffled sounds coming out of the wooden house. Letting out a small breath, he glanced at the surroundings making sure that no one was around. Raising his hand, several balls of cursed energy condensed above his palm. The sudden scene stunned the guard. What? The next moment several small balls rushed straight towards him. Guard's pupils contracted, and he hurriedly tried to move away, but the cursed balls followed him and pierced through his arms and legs making bloody holes appear. A rush of intense pain rushed through his body, making him open his mouth and scream. Arg! A small fist suddenly appeared before his face and stuck him, breaking his nose, and lose consciousness. Lioro glanced at the unmoving guard before turning towards the closed wooden door. "Guard," hearing the confused voice coming from inside, Lioro raised his leg and slammed the wooden door open. Ignoring the loud voice made by the door, his gaze landed on the naked skinny man riding on top of a woman, roughly holding her hair. Her eyes appeared blank. Seeing the woman's face, he seemed to remember her. Wasn't she the baker's wife? He remembered her giving the original host a free bread to eat once. It seems the time to repay the debt has come. 12 comments 0 vote. Download the app for greater interaction. You can chat with me about my writing experience apart from the comments section. nkcthereaper. Download app now. Chapter 4. First Kill, Profession LVL3. Lioro gazed calmly at the frail noble, his sharp eyes studying the young man before him. The noble barely looked 18 at best, his features still carrying the softness of adolescence. And yet, he had committed such heinous acts without a shred of hesitation. Was it simply the nature of this medieval world? Did its rules and morality differ so greatly from the modern world Lioro once knew? Such questions flickered through his mind as he slowly raised his hand, summoning a swirling ball of cursed energy. The noble's face contorted in fear. His trembling lips parted as he stammered. Who are you? His gaze was locked onto the cursed sphere hovering above Lioro's palm. Lioro exhaled softly. Originally, I planned to let you go after breaking all your limbs, he murmured, shaking his head. But now, his voice trailed off. I see no benefit in letting you live. A chill ran down the noble's spine. Panic seized him as he let go of the woman's hair, his mouth opening in a desperate attempt to plead for his life. Unfortunately, it was too late, as Lioro had already made his decision. The cursed sphere flashed. In an instant, the noble's head exploded into a gruesome mess, sending blood and brain matter splattering across the wooden walls. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 63. So, he really could gain experience from killing people. The noble's headless body slumped onto the trembling woman beneath him. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the room. Then, the woman's breath hitched. A trembling hand rose to her cheek, touching the warm, sticky flesh that had landed there. Her fingers pressed into its gooey texture. Her wide, tear-filled eyes darted toward Lioro, filled with horror. She didn't recognize him due to his changed looks. A feeling of dread filled her heart. She thought she was next. That at any moment, her head would burst apart just like the noble's. She didn't want to die. Just then, she saw the white-haired boy step toward her. The events of the past hour rushed through her mind in a chaotic blur, the noble's abduction, the pain he had inflicted upon her, and now the looming specter of death before her. Her last shred of mental resistance finally crumbled. She burst into tears. Bringing her shaking hands together, she sobbed in a pleading voice. Please, 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 Master Wizard, don't kill me. Her large breasts appeared in full view, and she didn't even try to cover herself, her mind filled with the fear of approaching death. Looking at her trembling figure, Lioro let out a sigh before saying, "It is all right, he's dead." Pointing at the clothes on the ground he continued, "Take your clothes and leave." The woman hesitated, her body still trembling, but in his words, she found a small glimmer of hope. "Don't tell anyone what happened here," Lioro said in a firm tone. "Leave as quickly as you can. If possible, move away from this village entirely." "Why yes, yes." Without wasting another second, she scrambled to push the noble's corpse off of her, nearly tripping as she snatched her clothes from the floor. Stumbling, she fled out the door, not even bothering to dress properly. Lioro watched her retreating figure in silence. He had wanted to tell her to at least put her clothes on first, but seeing the state she was in, he feared she might just collapse if he called out to her again. Letting out another breath, he turned his attention to the room. Now, what about the spoils? As a noble, that bastard should have had plenty of gold on him, right? Lioro's gaze landed on the luxurious clothes tossed carelessly on the ground. Pulling them aside, he found a heavy pouch underneath. He stuffed the noble's fine garments into his prop box before opening the pouch. A glimmer of gold coins greeted his eyes. He quickly counted them, 103 in total. It was the kind of wealth that a simple farmer could never hope to save in his entire life. Placing the coins into his prop box, Lioro turned his focus to the noble's corpse. The gold rings on his fingers gleamed in the dim light. Without hesitation, he plucked them off and stored them away. After looting everything of value, he finally stepped outside. His eyes fell on the unconscious guard lying nearby. A standard longsword hung from his waist. Lioro bent down, unsheathing it. Touch the weapon sword. Obtained basic occupation information. Guard. Open hollow corner bracket. Are you going to get a basic job, guard? Quote. No. Instead, he conjured a small sphere of cursed energy and flicked it at the guard's forehead. A tiny hole appeared in his skull, spilling blood onto the dirt road. Open hollow corner bracket. Experience gained, 190. Much higher than what the noble had given him. Stripping the guard of his armor and storing it alongside the sword, Lioro tossed the corpse into the wooden house. Then, he raised both hands. A sphere of blue appeared in his left palm, and red in his right. The two conflicting energies intertwined, merging into a vibrant shade of violet. Open hollow corner bracket spell. Hollow purple 10th tier. MP consumption, 130 megapixels. Introduction. A devastating fusion of repulsive and attractive forces, annihilating everything in its path. Thanks to 6 eyes, the MP cost of a 10th tier spell was reduced to just 19.5 megapixels, an 85% cost reduction, alongside 6-fold MP regeneration. Lioro narrowed his eyes. The purple sphere shot forward. In an instant, the wooden house and everything inside was reduced to nothingness. Sweat beaded on his forehead as his MP dipped momentarily. But he didn't care. His mana regeneration was absurdly fast. With one last glance at the now empty plot of land, Lioro turned and left. On the way home, as he walked, a familiar figure appeared in the distance. Uncle Edric. The old farmer's brows furrowed in anger as he marched up to Lioro. You brat, where the hell have you been? Do you know how worried I was? He jabbed his finger into Lioro's forehead. Since he had dismissed 6 eyes, his hair had reverted to its usual brown. Lioro remained silent, letting the old man vent his frustration. It only lasted about 10 seconds. Edric sighed, scratching his head. Sigh, it's almost night. Let's go home. Your sisters must be worried sick. Patting Lioro's head, Edric turned and started walking. Following behind, Lioro checked his experience bar. Experience slot, 253 100ths. Seeing that he had enough, he immediately allocated the excess experience to his special class, Dimensional Traveler, increasing it to level 2. Open hollow corner bracket ability table. Close hollow corner bracket. Natural abnormality, 6 eyes. Comprehensive level, 3 LV, 100 LV. Experience slot, 153 200ths. Professions, intermediate. Jujutsu Sorcerer, 1 LV. Advanced Special, Dimensional Traveler, 2 LV. Skill points, 6. Passive skills. Prop box, high space resistance, Traveler's resilience, etheric balance. Active skills. Jujutsu Sorcerer. Red, blue, limitless, hollow purple, unlimited void. Dimensional Traveler. Dimensional Rift, echo step. His stats had nearly doubled, making him feel stronger than ever. Returning home, after walking for a while, they finally arrived. Standing outside, his 2 elder sisters, Suer and Ninya, waited anxiously. The moment they spotted him, they rushed forward. Lioro, do you have any idea what time it is? Suer's voice boomed as she grabbed his cheeks and pulled. And how dare you mess with your sister earlier? Ninya, who had been about to say something, fell silent at Suer's angry outburst. Uncle Edric blinked, then turned around and left. Hey, say thank you to Uncle Edric. Quote. Thank you, Uncle. Muttering his thanks, Lioro hung his head under his sister's intense glares. With that, the 3 of them headed inside for dinner. Sitting together on the ground, the 3 of them started their food. Well, it was mainly Ninya and Suer who were eating, as Lioro simply looked at his food in silence. Is this for real? He couldn't help but think, looking at the watery soup inside a small bowl in front of him. It had neither quality nor quantity. For a moment, Lioro couldn't help but contemplate about the meaning of life. Lightly rubbing his nose, he picked up the bowl and took a sip. He had only one word to describe the taste. Bland. Completely and utterly bland. He almost wondered if he was drinking water instead of soup. It was driving him nuts. Nope, I can't survive like this. The modern life has ruined him, making him unable to endure hardships. Putting down the bowl in his hand, Lioro looked at his sisters and said in a serious tone. Sisters, I have awakened. Su'er and Ninya stopped eating. Lioro raised his hand, condensing a ball of cursed energy. Your brother is now a magician. So let's move to Erantel tomorrow, okay? Su'er and Ninya looked at him blankly. Dash 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 dash. Open hollow corner bracket spell. Red 7th tier. MP consumption. 90 megapixels. Introduction. Harnessing an overwhelming repulsive force, unleashes an explosive blast that sends enemies hurtling away with tremendous force. Open hollow corner bracket spell. Cursed technique. Blue 6th tier. MP consumption. 70 megapixels. Introduction. Creates an immense gravitational pull, dragging enemies and objects toward a single point with inescapable force. 13 comments 0 vote. Chapter 5. Leaving village. Inside a wooden house, 3 siblings slept under the same blanket. Lioro lay on the floor, trying to sleep. Or at least, he tried. An intense gaze from his left made it impossible. Even after hours had passed, it didn't waver. If anything, it felt stronger. Annoyance crept up his spine. Enough was enough. Lioro opened his eyes and turned to his left. It was Ninya, his second eldest sister. She was staring at him, eyes sparkling with excitement. Is something wrong? Lioro asked, the corners of his mouth twitching. Ignoring his clear irritation, Ninya leaned in closer, her voice filled with excitement. Lioro, show me that magic again. He blinked. No. Why? She protested immediately. Then, realizing her voice was too loud, she clamped her hands over her mouth. You know she's awake too, right? Lioro said, nodding toward their eldest sister, Su'er. She had been lying with her back to them, pretending to sleep. But the moment he called her out, her body twitched, and she slowly turned toward them with an awkward smile. It seemed no one was sleeping tonight. Hey, Lioro, please show the magic again. Ninya said, louder this time now that Su'er was also awake. Su'er, curiosity evident in her eyes, nodded in agreement. Lioro sighed, rubbing his forehead. Now, 2 pairs of eager eyes were staring at him. After a brief pause, he raised his hand, gathering a small ball of mana. Ninya and Su'er's eyes sparkled with excitement. It doesn't feel as dark as before, Ninya said, tilting her head in confusion. Without a word, Lioro willed the mana to transform into cursed energy. Both sisters gasped. Yes, that's how it felt. What is this? Su'er asked hesitantly, her voice laced with unease. I feel scared just looking at it. It's another form of mana called cursed energy. Lioro answered, dispersing the cursed energy. Cursed energy? Su'er repeated. That sounds kind of evil, doesn't it? Lioro didn't respond. Instead, he simply closed his eyes, unwilling to entertain them any longer. Seeing his shift in attitude, Su'er pouted. It seems someone's gotten a bit of an attitude since becoming a magician, she teased, poking his cheek. Yeah, Lioro, you're treating us like strangers now. Ninya joined in, poking his other cheek. The 2 sisters giggled as they kept poking him. Lioro felt like he was losing his mind. Suddenly, he shot up, ready to leave. But before he could, 2 pairs of hands grabbed his shoulders and pulled him back down. A second later, soft kisses landed on both his cheeks. All right, we won't tease you anymore, Su'er said, smiling. Yep, good night, brother, Ninya added. They poked his cheeks one last time before closing their eyes. Lioro gave them a weird look before sighing, shaking his head, and finally allowing himself to sleep. This time, there were no interruptions. Morning came, and the wooden house was filled with noise. Wait, we're really leaving the village? First, disbelief. What about our crops? Then, confusion. Our funds are running low right now. Finally, both sisters turned to Lioro, who sat silently in the corner. Lioro, say something. Blinking lazily, he reached into his prop box and pulled out a small money pouch. Clank. Gold coins peeked out from the opening. Su'er and Ninya froze. But instead of looking relieved, they turned to Lioro with nervous expressions. Lioro, where did you get that? Su'er asked hesitantly. Something about the pouch looked very familiar. And then, like a light bulb flickering on, realization struck her. She recognized it. That pouch belonged to the noble. Her trembling eyes met Lioro's calm gaze. He smiled. Su'er nearly dropped to her knees. She stumbled toward him, grabbing his shoulders and shaking him frantically. Lioro, what did you do? Ha ha ha. Ninya, still unsure, looked between them in confusion. This isn't funny, Lioro. Su'er cried, but he only laughed harder. Eventually, realizing she wouldn't get an answer, Su'er sighed in defeat. Are we really leaving? Lioro nodded. He was not eating that watery soup for another day. Su'er sighed. Then I'll start packing. We'll also need to find a carriage. She and Ninya quickly gathered what little they owned. Packing didn't take long. There wasn't much to begin with. Under their curious gazes, Lioro placed their belongings into his prop box, making them gasp. It just disappeared. I thought I was imagining things when you pulled out the gold coins, but... Lioro shrugged. It's my ability. The sisters exchanged glances. Every time they asked, that was the only answer they got. What should we tell uncle and aunt? Ninya asked. Tell them we're going to Erantel for work, Lioro said. But don't mention my ability. Make up something. The sisters sighed but nodded. Su'er went to inform their uncle and aunt. A little while later, she returned with Edric and his wife, Morella. You're going to Erantel? Edric asked, looking at the three of them. Yes, uncle, actually, Ninya stepped forward, giving a rushed excuse. Lioro let them handle it. I see, Edric nodded thoughtfully. How about you go with Garen? He's heading there today to sell his crops. Garen was a well-known figure in their village and a friend of Edric's. Su'er and Ninya quickly nodded, relieved. Soon, they arrived at Garen's house. It stood out from the others, made of wood and stone, with a small wooden fence giving it a homey feel. Nearby, a muscular man was loading a carriage. Garen. After a short conversation with Edric, he glanced at Lioro and his sisters, then pointed at his bull cart. I'll give you a ride, but you'll help me load and unload my goods, he said. Lioro scratched his chin. This simple task was becoming way more troublesome than expected. Still, they agreed and got to work. Midway through, everyone was left speechless as Lioro effortlessly lifted a crate 3 times his weight. Edric and Garen stared. The cart was soon packed, and as they climbed aboard, Edric suddenly pressed 2 silver coins into Lioro's hand. It's your first time going to Erantel, he said with a smile. Get yourself something good to eat. Lioro hesitated for a moment before nodding. The cart began moving. As they traveled, Lioro looked at the vast open plains around them, an unfamiliar sight for someone who had spent a past life in a metro city. An hour passed peacefully, until Lioro suddenly narrowed his eyes. Figures appeared in the distance. Dirty outfits, rusted swords. Bandits. Su'er and Ninya tensed. Lioro gathered cursed energy in his palm. But before he could act, Garen raised a hand. And waved at the bandits. They waved back. Lioro narrowed his eyes. They let me pass because I pay them, Garen said casually, as if sensing their confusion. Lioro remained silent. It didn't seem that simple. But it wasn't his business. 4 hours passed. Then, in the distance, towering rock walls came into view. After 5 hours of travel, they arrived at their destination. Fortress City Erantel. 8 comments 0 vote. Chapter 6. Erantel, 0 tier magic. A huge city appeared in the sight of Lioro and others. Erantel. With 3 thick city walls, the border city of Erantel looked more like a military fortress. As the central city on the border of the 3 kingdoms of Re-Estais, Baharuth Empire, and the slain theocracy, Erantel was originally built according to the specifications of a fortress. Lioro and his group didn't meet many people along the way, but now that they were approaching Erantel, the number of caravans and adventurers on the road began to increase significantly. Garen drove his bull cart to the city gate, and soldiers immediately stepped forward to stop him for inspection. As a border city, anyone coming from the outside world needed to be checked to prevent intruders and troublemakers from other countries, mainly the Baharuth Empire. Garen talked with the guards, showing them some papers. After he was done, they were allowed to pass, but everyone had to pay a fee of 2 coppers. That's right, Erantel charged an entrance fee. In the kingdom of Re-Estais, Erantel was the city with the most prosperous trade besides the port cities and the imperial capital. Due to its proximity to the Taub Forest and the Cat's Plains, 2 very dangerous areas, there were a large number of adventurers and mercenaries throughout the city. It also led to the prosperity of business and trade. As they entered the city, what caught Liero's eye were the large number of horse-drawn carriages on the streets ready to enter and leave the city. He could clearly feel that the proportion of adventurers in the crowd was very high. Completely different from their small village. I will go ahead and sell my goods. Do you kids want to come with me? Garen asked, looking at the three of them. Thank you for the ride, Uncle Garen, but we came here with another purpose. Ninya said while awkwardly scratching her cheek. Garen looked at her and then nodded. All right, if your work is done by evening, you can meet me at the gate, and I'll give you a ride back. Waving his hand, Garen moved his bull cart towards the market area. Let's secure a place to rent first, Lioro said as he led his sisters, Ninya and Suer, further into the city. The streets were lined with a mix of small wooden and stone buildings, the occasional smell of fresh bread and roasted meat wafting from stalls. The atmosphere was bustling, yet orderly, with guards patrolling at regular intervals. Where do we even start? Ninya asked, looking around at the unfamiliar surroundings with curious eyes. For now let's look for an inn, Lioro replied. A temporary place to stay is what they needed. Suer nodded in agreement, but we need to find a place that's not too expensive. Lioro scanned the streets and soon spotted a wooden sign swinging above a small, modest inn nestled between two larger buildings. The sign showed a resting boar. Judging by its appearance, it wasn't the most luxurious establishment, but it seemed clean and well maintained. Let's check this place out, Lioro said, leading the way. As they entered, the scent of aged wood and mild ale filled their noses. The inside was cozy, with a few travelers sitting at wooden tables, chatting quietly. Behind the counter stood an older woman, likely the innkeeper, cleaning a mug with a cloth. She looked up at them as they approached. Welcome to the Resting Boar. Looking for a meal or a room? A room, Lioro answered. Something affordable but comfortable for a few nights. The innkeeper gave them an appraising look, particularly at the two girls, before nodding. I've got some rooms available. 2 beds, it's clean and warm. 6 copper pieces a night. Ninya and Suer exchanged a glance. 6 coppers a night wasn't cheap. Lioro pulled out the pouch he had taken from the noble before and counted out 30 coins for 5 days. The innkeeper took the coins and handed over a simple iron key. Up the stairs, second door on the left. No fighting in the rooms, no bringing in trouble, and if you need meals, it'll cost extra. Lioro nodded, pocketing the key before leading his sisters upstairs. The room was simple, just as the innkeeper had described. A small wooden table, a single window looking out onto the street below, and 2 narrow beds with thin but clean blankets. This bed is so soft, Suer said, sitting on the bed, curiously touching the mattress. Ninya blinked before carefully sitting on the other bed. It felt nice and fluffy, different from the rock-hard ground they usually slept on. Without Ninya noticing, her body fell on the bed, enveloped by the softness of the mattress. Seeing the two of them having fun, Lioro took out 20 gold coins along with some silver and copper coins from his prop box and placed them on the wooden desk. I am going to the Adventurer Guild, meanwhile sisters should take a rest first. I'll go with you, Lioro, Suer said as she got up from the bed. Seeing her move, Ninya also forced herself to get up. But Lioro shook his head and said, it is easier for me to move around on my own, so please stay back and rest. After some persuasion, Ninya and Suer relented. I might be late for dinner, so don't worry and eat up without me. Leaving behind his words, Lioro left the room. After walking down the stairs he arrived at the ground floor. Walking towards the counter, he arrived before the old woman and asked, can you tell me where the Adventurers Guild is? The innkeeper looked at him and then said plainly, go out, then take a left and follow the path until. After getting directions, Lioro exited the inn and made his way towards the Adventurers Guild. He planned to become an adventurer, and then farm monsters while also making money at the same time. As Lioro was making his way forward, he suddenly stopped and turned his head to his right. There he saw a 3-story building with a sign he couldn't read. After all, he didn't know the language of this world. What attracted him to the building was the scroll-like icon along with a dude who was wearing a blue overcoat that covered his head, looking like a typical example of a magician. Walking up to the man, Lioro asked, is this the Magicine Guild? The man glanced at him, and seeing that it was a poor-looking kid he ignored him. Since he didn't get a response, Lioro decided to enter the building and check it out for himself. The inside of the building was unusually bright. The first thing he saw was a hall dominated by red and black tones. The surrounding walls are all covered with a layer of red wooden boards, and only the area close to the ground is dyed black. The hall doesn't look big, probably less than 100 square meters. Judging from the outside, the building's area should be much larger than this, and the interior is obviously separated by partitions. There are 6 hanging lamps on the left and right walls respectively, and above the head is a cylindrical chandelier that emits soft white light, illuminating the entire hall. He didn't see many people inside, except for the young man in a robe sitting behind the counter. When Lioro entered the hall, the man looked over to him. But seeing his rough and poor clothes made him scrunt his clothes in displeasure. Walking up to the counter, Lioro asked the man in a polite tone. "Hello, is this the Magician's Guild?" Although he asked, he was already about 90% sure that this was the Adventurers Guild. "This is indeed the Magician's Guild, it's not a place for a kid like you to roam around, so go away," the man said while waving his hand at Lioro. Lioro stared at him, then pulled out his gold bag and placed it on the counter. A strange light passed through the young man's eyes. He looked at Lioro and then at the money bag before saying in a polite tone, "My name is Trey, what would you like to buy?" Lioro saw the strange look in his eyes, but he ignored it. It would actually be quite interesting if the man tried to pull something on him. "What are you selling?" "Magic props and scrolls." "How much are the proper?" "They start from 150 gold. "Show me the magic scrolls." Trey nodded his head before pulling out a booklet from the counter and handing it to Lioro. Lioro opened the booklet and as he expected, he couldn't read anything. So he passed the book back to Trey along with a silver coin. "Introduce them to me." Trey silently pocketed the silver coin and started explaining about the scrolls. Lioro listened in interest. The first thing that caught his eye was the 0-level magic scroll. It was something he didn't know existed, or maybe it did and he just forgot. 0-tier spells were different from other tier spells as they were created by the residents of the New World, and mainly used for miscellaneous purposes. For example, there are magic scrolls that are completely used for daily life, such as ignition, perpetual light, cleaning, etc., and have no offensive capabilities. Lioro was about to skip the spells when he heard about an interesting one. 0-tiered spell, papermaking. He didn't understand why this was a spell, so he asked. Papermaking is different from ordinary paper. Papers created by papermaking are used to make scrolls. Lioro raised his eyebrow. "You can make first-tier spells with 0-tier papermaking." Trey shook his head and said, "You will need first-tier papermaking to make first-tier spells and so forth." "Can people from another world develop life magic to the first level?" "You must know. In the game, Yggdrasil, the rank of magic is fixed. Whether you are level 100 or level 20, there is no difference when using first-order magic. Of course, the power will change according to the attribute of magic attack, but the essence remains unchanged. There are some special magics, such as the 3rd tier, Fireball. This magic can increase its power and attack distance according to the amount of magic power consumed by the magic caster. But 3rd tier magic is 3rd tier magic, and that cannot be changed. High-level players possess the skill of nullification of low-level magic, which makes them completely immune to Fireball. Therefore, in Yggdrasil, if you want to hunt level 100 players, you need to use at least 8th tier magic. Lioro raised his eyebrow. Next came 1st tier spells. Repair, can repair damaged objects. Odorless, can remove one's own odor. Floating board, you can create a translucent floating board to carry items. Magic arrow, release 3 magic arrows to attack. There were very few offensive magic scrolls, only 3 in total, and the other scrolls were mostly used for auxiliary purposes. Also, there were no 2nd-tier magic scrolls. Why is there no 2nd-tier scroll? There wasn't even a single one available. He didn't believe the guild leader of the Magician Guild of Erantel branch wouldn't even know a 2nd-tier spell. Because we don't have the knowledge to manufacture 2nd-tier scrolls. Lioro fell silent. After thinking for some time he said, "Show me the magic arrow scroll." Trey went to the back, brought out a simple-looking scroll and handed him the scroll. As soon as Lioro touched the scroll, a familiar screen appeared before his eyes. The 1st-tier magic arrow, has been discovered. It requires a basic magician profession and a level requirement of level 1 to 7. The current conditions are not met. Liero's eyes glowed, it seemed he had found a way to use skill points. Containing his increasing excitement, he pointed at a few scrolls he found interesting. Give me these scrolls. Trey again went back inside and came out with 3 scrolls in his hand. 0-level scroll papermaking, odorless 1st-level scroll magic arrow. 2 0-level magic scrolls, priced at 2 gold coins and 1 1st-level scroll for 2 gold and 40 silver. Total of 3 gold and 40 silver. Compared to magic props which can be used repeatedly, magic scrolls were obviously cheaper as they were a one-time consumable. Lioro paid the price and took the scrolls. The 0-tier magic, odorless, has been discovered. No requirements detected. The current conditions are met. Would you like to learn it? The 0-tier magic, papermaking, has been discovered. No requirements detected. The current conditions are met. Would you like to learn it? Not only did they not have any requirements, but they didn't need skill points either. After exiting the place, Lioro said, yes, in his mind. Instantly the knowledge of odorless and papermaking 0-tiered spell appeared in his mind. He instantly mastered how to use both spells. The familiar screen appeared before his eyes. Open hollow corner bracket. Ability table. Natural abnormality ability, 6 eyes. Comprehensive level, 3 LV 100 LV. Experience slot, 153 200ths. Profession, intermediate profession, Jujutsu sorcerer 1 LV. Advanced special, dimensional traveler 2 LV. Skill points, 6. Passive skills, prop box, high space resistance, traveler's resilience, etheric balance. Active skills, Jujutsu sorcerer red 7th tier blue, 6th tier limitless, Hallow purple 10th tier unlimited void. Dimensional traveler dimensional rift, echo step. Magic, papermaking 0th tier odorless 0th tier. Resistances, all attribute resistance, 5%. High resistance immunity to tier 7 and below, space. Space, 40%. Close hollow corner bracket. Lioro focused on the 2 0-tiered spells he had just acquired. Dash 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 dash. Skill, papermaking level 0, up pointing arrow. Consumption, 1 megapixel. Produce 1000 sheets of low quality paper. For every additional point of mana consumed, 500 sheets can be produced, with no upper limit. Dash 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 dash. He was just about to look at the other spell when he stopped. Why is there an arrow there? He focused his mind on the arrow, making a new message appear before his eyes. The 1st tier magic, papermaking, has been discovered. It requires a basic magician profession and a level requirement of level 1 to 7. The current conditions are not met. Lioro looked at it, then brought up the other spell. Dash 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 dash. Skill, odorless level 0, up pointing arrow. Consumption, 1 megapixel. Introduction, removes one's odor. Dash 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 dash. It was the same as before. The 1st tier magic, odorless, has been discovered. It requires a basic magician profession and a level requirement of level 1 to 7. The current conditions are not met. So here comes the question. Can these spells be upgraded to even higher levels? If yes, then will he be able to make higher level scrolls with them? Lioro imagined a scene in his mind, a crazy magician who kept spamming magic scroll after magic scroll without using any of his own mana. It was indeed a good scene. He will look into it later. Let's become an adventurer first and farm some express before deciding. With that, Lioro started walking towards the Adventurers Guild. In a nearby alley, a cloaked figure looked at Lioro with greedy eyes, expertly waving the knife in his hand. 7 comments 0 vote. Chapter 7, Adventurer. Farming Express. Lioro stood in front of a 4-story building, gazing up at the sign. Adventurers Guild. Information about adventurers surfaced in his mind. The Adventurers Guild categorized adventurer teams into 8 ranks: copper, iron, silver, gold, platinum, mithril, orichalcum, and adamantite. Regardless of background, every adventurer had to start at the copper level. Walking up to the wooden door, he pushed it open and stepped inside. Instantly, numerous eyes turned toward him. Is that a kid? Hey, looks like he got lost or something. Ignoring the murmurs around him, Lioro walked to the reception desk, where a young woman stood behind it. She had slightly curly brown hair, brown eyes, and a small beauty mark beneath one eye. Blinking curiously, she studied Lioro. Without hesitation, he stated his purpose. I want to become an adventurer. For a brief moment, silence filled the guild. Then, laughter erupted. PFF'd. Is he for real? This ain't no place for a kid like you. Go home to mama, farm boy. Teasing remarks flew through the air. The receptionist wore a troubled expression. I'm sorry, but becoming an adventurer is a serious job. Her voice trailed off, as did the chatter behind her. All eyes were now fixed on the glowing red orb floating above Lioro's palm. The room fell into stunned silence. Lioro met the receptionist's gaze, his voice calm and unwavering. I'm a magic caster. Clank. The sound of a chair tipping over rang out. No one paid it any mind. A magic caster. So young. Damn, I just witnessed a genius. Who is he? I didn't know such a young magic caster existed in our kingdom. Speculation spread like wildfire. Was he a noble's son? But his brown hair and farm clothes quickly dismissed that idea. Could it be a commoner genius? Like Gazef. While the crowd buzzed with excitement, Lioro dispersed the orb and turned back to the receptionist. I want to become an adventurer. Ah, yes, please wait a moment, she said, snapping out of her daze. She retrieved a copper plate and some documents. The registration fee is 1 silver. She hesitated, glancing at Lioro's simple clothes. Not wanting to turn away a magic caster, she quickly added, it can also be paid later. Here, Lioro placed a silver coin on the desk. The receptionist blinked in surprise before taking it. She proceeded to fill out the form, asking for basic details such as his name, age, and address. When he revealed he was just 12 years old, she paused, giving him another glance before continuing. Once finished, she handed him the copper plate. Lioro examined it. It was smooth to the touch. Looking back at the receptionist, he asked, are there any monster hunting missions for copper-ranked adventurers? Monster hunting, she thought for a moment, then walked to the task board and retrieved a yellow parchment. We have a quest to slay 3 goblins. It's a standard guild-issued task for new adventurers to increase their rank. Lioro took the paper. As expected, he couldn't read it. Thank you. The receptionist was taken aback. Since starting work at the Adventurers Guild, she had rarely heard those words. Most adventurers were rough and impolite. He's talented and polite. Watching Lioro's back as he left, she sighed softly, feeling a twinge of jealousy for the girl who would one day capture his heart. As Lioro approached the guild's exit, a group of 3 men blocked his path. They looked familiar. All 3 had blonde hair. 2 were of similar build, while the third was more muscular, a mace strapped to his back. Ah, I remember them, they were Ninya's companions. The ones killed by Clementine. The blonde man leading the group stepped forward with a friendly smile. Hey, would you like to team up with us for a quest? They were good people, but they were weak. Lioro looked at them and replied plainly, no. Without waiting for their response, he walked past them and exited the guild. The 3 men exchanged glances before shrugging in resignation. Stepping into a secluded alley, Lioro was suddenly blocked by a cloaked figure. Hey, brat, why don't you hand over that pouch you're carrying? Lioro turned to face him, his expression calm. Did you not see what happened in the Adventurers Guild? Why would I enter the guild when I could just wait for you to come out? The man twirled a dagger in his hand and stepped forward menacingly. I see, then you can only blame your bad luck. Lioro's figure vanished. What the? Before the thief could react, a fist slammed into his back, sending him crashing into a wall. Before he could scream, a hand grabbed his face. With wide, terrified eyes, the cloaked man stared at the white-haired boy before him, completely different from before. Who sent you? Lioro asked. Was it Trey? Ignoring his injuries, the man gripped his dagger and lunged at Lioro's head. But his blade stopped inches away, frozen in midair. It wouldn't move. That was a bad move. Crack. Lioro stepped on the man's leg, breaking it. With his mouth clamped shut, the thief couldn't even scream. He could only stare in horror. Now, Lioro said, his tone unwavering, tell me what you know. In the alley, Lioro glanced at the corpse before him, a small hole in its forehead. Turning his head upward, he looked at the sky. It's still early. His eyes sharpened. Let's hunt monsters first, then raid the Magician's Guild at night. His way of thinking was changing. Maybe it was because of the power he now wielded. Maybe it was because of the world he was in. Either way, he knew he was changing. And he didn't think it was wrong. After all, wasn't there a saying? When in Rome, do as the Romans do. He was simply following the teachings of his elders. Now, let's try this. Placing his hands together, he concentrated, drawing from Gojo's memories to control the power of infinity. A clear image of a forest he had passed when coming to Erantel formed in his mind. In the next moment, he vanished from the alley and reappeared in front of the great forest of Tob. A forbidden place teeming with monsters. Kriak. Hearing an inhuman screech, Lioro turned his head to see 4 goblins charging at him. He studied the small creatures with interest. Goblins could be a menace, depending on the fantasy world. He suddenly recalled a certain character from another series, one who only hunted goblins. I wonder if I can travel to his world. Shaking off the thought, Lioro summoned a sword from his prop box. Gripping it tightly, he planted his foot and lunged forward at blinding speed, stunning the goblins. SCHLK. A sword pierced through a goblin's forehead, killing it instantly. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 15. The rest of the goblins cried out and hurriedly attacked Lioro with their weapons. Unfortunately, it was a useless effort, as they could never breach infinity. Taking out the sword from the goblin's forehead, Lioro slashed at the next one's neck, separating the goblin's head from his body. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 17. The other 2 goblins attacked him in a frenzy, hitting infinity using their clubs with all of their strengths. Alas, it was all useless. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 19. The sword flashed and another goblin died, leaving behind the final one. Seeing that all of his comrades were dead, the last goblin shivered before throwing away his club and running back toward the forest. But before he could go further, a ball of curse energy pierced through his head, killing him on the spot. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 21. Lioro looked down at the 4 goblins. He felt his skills were lacking, his stats were higher than the goblins, yet he allowed them to attack him. After all, he was but a normal person a day ago and didn't have much battle experience. Let's practice more while killing. Taking out a knife from his prop box, he cut the goblins' ears and stored them inside his inventory. After killing a monster, their ears can be given to the Adventurers Guild in exchange for money. With unhurried steps, Lioro entered the forest of Tob, starting his first experience hunt. 10 comments 0 vote. Chapter 8. General Profession. Inside the great forest of Tob. A goblin could be seen fleeing with a desperate expression on his face as if being chased by a monster. It didn't even dare to look, running away with all of its strength. Suddenly the goblin's leg got stuck on a tree root, making it fall down. But before the goblin could get back up, a sword flashed and the goblin's head was separated from his body. Lioro glanced at the dead goblin and then using a knife he cut off the goblin's ear and placed it inside his prop box. Looking up at the night sky and roughly calculated the time. About 4 hours have passed since he started hunting. He glanced at the number of goblin ears collected inside his prop box. Goblin ear, 124. The damn forest was too big, making it hard for him to find monsters. He only saw 3 ogres while searching around. Opening up his panel, Lioro looked at the experience gained. Experience, 2,536 200ths. The monsters were hard to find, the damn forest was too large. I remember there being a lizardmen village somewhere near where the Great Tomb spawned. Unfortunately, he didn't know the location. Turning his head away from the panel, Lioro raised his sword and looked at it. Due to continuous usage, the sword has lost its sharpness and become chipped in various places, looking weary. Putting it back inside the prop box, Lioro looked in the direction of Erantel. It's about time. He took out a pair of black clothes and put them on, covering his face and head, only leaving space for eyes. Then his figure suddenly disappeared from the spot, leaving behind the lone corpse of the dead goblin. Inside the Magician's Guild, Trey was sitting behind the counter, looking bored, staring at the entrance of the shop. Why hasn't he arrived yet? Don't tell me he ran away with the money. Feeling irritated, he took out his notebook from the side and started studying. He was an aspiring magician apprentice under the guild. Using his hand he flipped the page. But just then, a sword suddenly pierced through his head from behind, ending his life in one go. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 177. The sword retracted, making tray fall on the reception, revealing the figure of a cloaked person behind him. Lioro looked at the dead tray in silence, then moved forward and grabbed his shoulder, moving his body away, revealing the counter. Using his hand he opened the drawer, revealing neatly placed gold, silver, and copper coins within. Without batting an eye, he placed all of them inside his prop box, then turned back and started looking around the place. His eyes landed on the various scrolls and some magic items placed inside the cabinet. But instead of taking them out, Lioro silently stared at them. Using 6 eyes he could see an abnormal flow of mana surrounding the cabinet. Is it a trap, or surveillance? Moving his head he started looking deeply at the entire place. He noticed several places with the same situation. His gaze landed on the door leading to the inner area. He sensed no trap from the door. Silently walking up to the door, he placed his hand on the doorknob and carefully opened it up a little. The sound of scribbling entered his ears. Peeking inside he noticed 3 men wearing wizard-like robes, writing away at several parchments. Lioro narrowed his eyes and looked carefully at the process. Suddenly, the skill, scroll engraving, has been discovered, which requires a general job, scroll scribbler. The current conditions are not met. He can learn skills by seeing others perform them. Another new discovery. Also, what's a general job? Is it a non-combat based job? A production job? He remembers there being some people with a chef job in the Great Tomb. Silently closing the door, Lioro looked at the place. I'm not leaving these scrolls and magic props behind. After breaking the cabinet he will store everything in the prop box and then teleport away before anyone can arrive. Coming up to the corpse of Trey he placed it inside his inventory. Then he came in front of the cabinet, grabbed the handle, and opened it up, disturbing the flow of magic around it, and activating the alarm. With a quick movement, he hurriedly placed all the scrolls and magic props inside his inventory, and then before anyone could arrive he vanished from the spot. After he was gone, hurried footsteps came from the upper floor of the Magician Guild. An old man in a wizard robe came down and looked vigilantly at the place. But seeing that no one was around, his vigilance quickly turned into confusion. On the other hand, Lioro, who just teleported away, has managed to land himself in a particular situation. Currently, he was tightly covering the mouth of a young man, preventing him from screaming. Holding him down, Lioro stared at the golden-haired man in confusion. I teleported to the alley thinking no one would be around, so just what the hell are you doing here? Nifria. It was easy for him to identify this alchemist kid from the series. As soon as he teleported away from the Magician Guild, Lioro appeared in front of Nifria. His sudden appearance along with his shady clothes made Nifria shout in surprise, but Lioro managed to stop him just in time. Now that I think about it, I could have just teleported away again. After all, my face is covered so he wouldn't know anything. So even after understanding this, why was Lioro still holding down Nifria instead of teleporting away? Well, it's because of this sudden prompt that appeared as soon as he touched Nifria. Open hollow corner bracket contact with special dual basic occupations, alchemist genius and pharmacist genius, triggering the conditions for obtaining general occupations. Open hollow corner bracket triggered the general job, genius. Do you want to take the job? General job, genius. Wait, didn't Princess Renner have this class? Lioro's mind moved. I remember it being a job only available in the New World, and very few selected individuals had it. After thinking for a moment he decided to accept the job. The general profession, genius, was successfully employed. Open hollow corner bracket note. Due to the particularity of this profession, increasing the level will not increase the basic attributes. Occupation. Genius. Level. General profession. Introduction. This profession can replace any basic and general profession for learning skills or magic. Lioro was confused. Replace any basic or general profession. What the hell does that mean? And as if answering his question, a screen he saw before appeared before his eyes. The skill, scroll engraving, has been discovered, which requires a general job, scroll scribbler. The current conditions are not met. Genius scroll scribbler profession has been activated and the transformation has been successful. The learning conditions are met. Do you want to consume 1 skill point to learn it? Lioro was taken aback. After hesitating for a moment, he decided to learn the skill. Learned skill, scroll engraving, 1 skill point spent. Suddenly knowledge about engraving spells of scrolls rushed into Lioro's mind. In an instant he became a master of engraving scrolls, as if he had been working on it for decades. Several thoughts passed through Lioro's mind, and his gaze on Nifria became increasingly hot. I didn't receive any job notification when I touched the noble, guard, magician, or anyone else, so why did I only receive a job option when touching Nifria? Is it because Nifria is a genius? Or were the others simply trash? Nifria suddenly started struggling, trying to break free. Lioro ignored his resistance and placed a dagger next to Nifria's eyes. Don't move. Nifria hurriedly nodded his head, seeing the sharp light coming from the dagger right next to his face. Shout and I will kill you. After warning him, Lioro took off his hand covering Nifria's mouth. Seeing that he was being obedient and not shouting, Lioro opened up his prop box and took out a familiar scroll from the ones he had just stolen. The first tier magic arrow, has been discovered. It requires a basic magician profession and a level requirement of level 1 to 7. The current conditions are not met. Genius magician profession has been activated and the transformation has been successful. The learning conditions are met. Do you want to consume 1 skill point to learn it? Yes. Learned skill, magic arrow, 1 skill point spent. Open hollow corner bracket spell. Magic arrow first tier. MP consumption, 3 megapixels. Introduction. Creates an arrow made of mana that will pierce a target. Close hollow corner bracket. It seems the job, genius, can replace all basic and general professions to allow him to learn their skills. Nifria is a pharmacist, isn't he? Tell me how to make potions. Lioro said, placing his dagger on Nifria's chest. Nifria gulped loudly, his eyes shaking in fear. Seeing Lioro slowly punching the dagger forward, he hurriedly said in a trembling voice. Wait. I can tell you, so please stop. Nifria was just about to continue when an old voice suddenly came from the alley's entrance. Lightning. Along with a sharp light, a bolt of lightning landed straight on Lioro. Grandma. Nifria shouted in joy. Nifria, get away. Listening to her grandma's worried shout shocked Nifria, but before he could react, a hand rushed out and grabbed his neck. You, let go of my grandson. Beads of sweat appeared on Lizzie Bearer's face, seeing that Lioro was perfectly fine after taking a tier 3 spell head on. The third tier magic, lightning, has been discovered. It requires a basic magician profession and a level requirement of level 15 to 21. The current conditions are not met. Genius magician profession has been activated, conditions not met. Genius magician is level 2, at least level 15 is required to learn tier 3 magic. Closing square bracket. Pulling Nifria by his neck, Lioro walked towards Lizzie and stopped right in front of her. Looking at the old woman, he said in a plain voice. Show me how to make a potion and I will let your grandson go. You are after my knowledge. Is that why you captured my grandson? Lizzie said with a hardened look on her face. So are you going to teach or not? What if you don't keep your promise after I tell you? Then how about I just kill you now? Lizzie fell silent, looking deeply at Lioro's covered face. She sighed before saying. The skills, pharmaceuticals, and alchemy, have been discovered, which require general jobs, pharmacist, and alchemist. The current conditions are not met. Genius alchemist and genius pharmacist jobs have been activated and the transformation has been successful. The learning conditions are met. Do you want to consume 2 skill point to learn it? Lioro accepted, and a huge amount of information about alchemy and pharmaceuticals appeared in his brain. Using a skill point to gain a skill raises it to the highest level, meaning after only listening to 2 or 3 lines out of Lizzie Bearer's mouth, his knowledge of alchemy and pharmaceuticals surpassed her, reaching the highest level. Seeing that he managed to get what he wanted, Lioro threw Nifria towards Lizzie and used Gojo's power to teleport away, leaving behind the stunned grandma and grandson. Not believing her eyes, Lizzie opened her eyes wide and stared in shock at the place Lioro disappeared. Teleportation, she muttered in a shocked voice, wondering just what kind of big shot they had gotten themselves entangled with. Grandma, leave, let's leave quickly, otherwise, he might change his mind and come back. Yes. In a hurry, the grandson and grandma duo left the place. The Great Forest of Tob. The space distorted before a black figure suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Looking around at the empty forest, Lioro calmed himself down and hurriedly pulled up his ability table. Dash 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 dash. Open hollow corner bracket. Ability table. Natural abnormality ability. 6 eyes. Comprehensive level. 3 LV, 100 LV. Experience slot. 2713 200ths. Profession. General. Genius 1 LV. Intermediate profession. Jujutsu Sorcerer 1 LV. Advanced Special. Dimensional Traveler 2 LV. Skill points. 2. Passive skills. Prop box, high space resistance, traveler's resilience, etheric balance. Active skills. Jujutsu Sorcerer Red 7th tier Blue 6th tier Limitless, Hallow Purple 10th tier Unlimited Void. Dimensional Traveler Dimensional Rift, Echo Step. Genius Scroll Scribbler, Alchemist, Pharmacist, Magician Scroll Engraving, Alchemy, Pharmaceuticals, Papermaking 0th tier Odorless 0th tier Magic Arrow 1st tier. Resistances. All attribute resistance, 5%. High resistance immunity to tier 7 and below space. Space, 40%. Close hollow corner bracket. Dash 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 dash. Lioro looked at the screen in confusion. He remembered when the prompt for learning lighting spell came, it showed Genius was level 2. And it needed to be level 15 to learn tier 3 spells. So why was it showing Genius was level 1? Using his mind he brought open the panel again. The 3rd tier magic, lightning, has been discovered. It requires a basic magician profession and a level requirement of level 15 to 21. The current conditions are not met. Genius magician profession has been activated, conditions not met. Genius magician is level 4, at least level 15 is required to learn tier 3 magic. Closing square bracket. It's level 4 now. Lioro rubbed his eyes and looked at his ability section. Genius is still clearly level 1 and I haven't upgraded my class yet, so why does it show level 4? Wait, a light bulb lit inside his mind as he stared at the 4 jobs written inside brackets in Genius job. Scroll Scribbler, Alchemist, Pharmacist, Magician. When he received the message to learn Lightning 3rd tier, before he only had Scroll Scribbler and Magician, which he got from learning Magic Arrow 1st tier and Scroll Engraving. But now he has learned Alchemy and Pharmaceuticals as well. Is it a multiplier based on the professions inside Genius? A sharp light passed through Lioro's eyes. A 10th tier spell can be learned from level 63, so if I had Genius at level 7 with 9 such jobs, I will be able to learn tier 10th spell. And not just of a single system but tier 10 spells of multiple systems like Faith, Necromancy, Druid, etc. Things were getting crazier. Controlling his hurting brain, Lioro took out the sword from his prop box. He decided to kill some monsters to calm his mind before leaving. 10 comments 0 vote. Chapter 9, Max Profession Dimensional Traveler. Lioro stopped and looked at the sun in the distance. He just spent an entire night in the great forest of Tob, hunting monsters. And surprisingly he wasn't feeling tired. Is it because of excitement or my increased physical strength? He didn't know the answer, but it didn't matter either. Lowering his gaze he looked at the broken sword in his hand. Half of its blade was missing, probably stuck inside the body of an ogre he had killed before. After giving it a final look, he threw it away as it was no longer in working condition. Opening up his panel he looked at the experience gained after an entire night of farming. Experience, 9,612 200ths. It was almost reaching the 5-digit mark. Releasing a light breath, Lioro focused his mind. In the next moment, his figure vanished. Dash 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 dash. Erantel, resting bore in. Lioro's figure suddenly appeared inside a room. And as soon as he did, El Lioro, a surprised shout entered his ears. Turning his head, he saw Ninya and Suer staring at him with wide eyes. Good morning sisters, did you sleep well? Lioro asked with a smile on his face. Suer and Ninya suddenly rushed up to him and said in a hurry. You didn't return for the entire night. Where were you? We thought something happened to you, we were so worried. Looking at the clear dark circles under their eyes, Lioro asked in a confused voice. But I told you that I will be late before leaving. Late doesn't mean you wouldn't return for the entire night. They both started lecturing him non-stop. After some time, Lioro shrugged his shoulders and said in plain voice. Okay, I understand, I will say it with more clarity next time. You, sigh, forget it. Suer held her forehead, feeling a headache coming over. Ninya awkwardly scratched her cheek. I am going out to buy some things, do you want to come with me? Su'er and Ninya looked at each other and then nodded. Okay then, let's go. Following his lead, the three of them went out and made their way towards a clothing shop. After going inside, they came out wearing completely different outfits. Lioro wore a black robe with a hood and golden patterns at the end, completely changing his appearance from a farm boy to a rich-looking wizard. Following behind him were Su'er and Ninya, who had changed out of their old clothes. Su'er was wearing a set of white and blue colors while Ninya was in red with a brown half-coat on top. The clothes instantly highlighted their original beauty, making several passers-by stop and give them second glances. Especially Su'er with her golden hair and blue eyes. Ninya looked at her sisters with stars in her eyes. Sister, you look beautiful, she praised in a sincere voice. Su'er looked down, feeling the clean and soft cloth brushing against her skin. She said to Lioro in an embarrassed voice. Brother, isn't this a bit too expensive? She started calling me brother, now. Chuckling lightly at the power of money, Lioro magnanimously waved his hand. Don't worry about money, a few silver coins are not worth fussing over. It was true, after stealing from the Magician's Guild, he had more than 1,000 gold coins in store. Su'er blushed and muttered in a small voice. Thank you, brother. She couldn't describe how she felt after seeing their roles reversed. Before she used to take care of Lioro, and now he was taking care of her. As an older sibling, it made her feel shameful. But looking down at her new dress, she felt her shame vanish quickly. After buying clothes, under Lioro's lead, the three of them came to a blacksmith's shop. Lioro directly bought a dozen swords for future use. After that they went around Erantel, experiencing the medieval city like tourists, buying miscellaneous things from here and there. Just as they were walking along the road, several guards present outside Magician's Guild caught their attention. Did something happen? Ninya said in a confused voice, seeing the guard's vigilant expression. Lioro silently looked at the Magician's Guild before turning around. Let's go back. Su'er and Ninya glanced at the guards before following behind Lioro. Not long after, the three of them returned back to the resting boar and ate breakfast before returning to their room to rest. Lioro took the bed on the right while Su'er and Ninya lay on the left one. Feeling relaxed, Lioro brought up his attribute panel. Open hollow corner bracket. Ability table. Natural abnormality ability. 6 eyes. Comprehensive level. 3 LV, 100 LV. Experience slot. 9,612 200ths. Profession. General. Genius 1 LV. Intermediate profession. Jujutsu Sorcerer 1 LV. Advanced Special. Dimensional Traveler 2 LV. Skill points. 2. Passive skills. Prop box, high space resistance, traveler's resilience, etheric balance. Active skills. Jujutsu Sorcerer red, 7th tier blue, 6th tier limitless, hollow purple 10th tier unlimited void. Dimensional Traveler Dimensional Rift, Echo Step. Genius Scroll Scribbler, Alchemist, Pharmacist, Magician Scroll Engraving, Alchemy, Pharmaceuticals, Papermaking 0th tier Odorless 0th tier Magic Arrow 1st tier. Resistances. All attribute resistance, 5%. High resistance immunity to tier 7 and below space. Space, 40%. Close hollow corner bracket. First, he increased the level of his special profession. Dimensional Traveler 2 LV to Dimensional Traveler 5 LV. Experience, 8,712 500ths. Then he added experience to his medium profession. Jujutsu Sorcerer 1 LV to Jujutsu Sorcerer 7 LV. Experience, 2,212 3000ths. Open hollow corner bracket. Ability table. Natural abnormality ability, 6 eyes. Comprehensive level, 13 LV, 100 LV. Experience slot, 2,212 3000ths. Profession, General, Genius 1 LV. Intermediate profession, Jujutsu Sorcerer 7 LV. Advanced Special, Dimensional Traveler 5 LV. Skill points, 32. Passive skills, Prop box, high space resistance, traveler's resilience, etheric balance. Active skills, Jujutsu Sorcerer red, 7th tier blue, 6th tier limitless, hollow purple 10th tier unlimited void. Dimensional Traveler, Dimensional Rift, Echo Step, Void Veil, Multiverse Digger. Genius, Scroll Scribbler, Alchemist, Pharmacist, Magician, Scroll Engraving, Alchemy, Pharmaceuticals, Papermaking, 0th tier, Odorless, 0th tier, Magic Arrow, 1st tier. Resistances. All attribute resistance, 5%. High resistance, immunity to tier 7 and below, space. Space, 40%. Close hollow corner bracket, dash 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 dash. Combined level 13. A cool feeling traveled through Lioro's body, making him raise his hand and clench it a few times. His physical and magic strength increased dramatically. He felt like he could explode a goblin's head by only relying on his physical body. Moving his eyes, he looked at the new skill which he gained after leveling, Dimensional Traveler, to the max level 5. Multiverse Digger. Since it is a class skill, it is different from tiered magic and is not classified as one. Closing his eyes, he tried using the skill. Instantly his brows furrowed, and he actually felt a connection from this world. There is an alternate timeline in Overlord. He became interested, wanting to check it out. But seeing the pitiful combined level 13, he gave it up for now. Let's set a small goal and reach at least level 20 first. Maybe I can also try world travel at that time. Feeling excitement bubbling inside him due to the unknown, Lioro could no longer keep lying down on the bed. With a quick move he jumped up, startling Suer and Ninja. Taking out the big sack he brought before, Lioro started putting all of the goblin and ogre ears he had accumulated inside it. After he was done, he placed the bag over his shoulder and said without looking back, "I am going to the Adventurers Guild." Seeing him run away at a quick speed, Suer and Ninja looked at each other helplessly before shrugging their shoulders and going back to sleep. With quick and long strides, Lioro ran straight towards his destination. Looking at the familiar wooden door, he raised his hand and pushed it open, revealing the inside of the Adventurers Guild. "Hey, it's that kid from yesterday. The genius. Damn, he's real. He changed clothes. It looks expensive. What's he carrying?" Those who weren't present yesterday looked at him with beaming eyes, especially at the big bag he was carrying on his shoulders. Ignoring the onlookers, Lioro made his way towards the counter. Arriving in front of it, he greeted the familiar woman. "Hello, Miss. Adventurer Lioro." She looked curiously at the bag he was carrying on his back. "I heard there is a reward issued by the guild for hunting monsters." "Yes, that is true." Clank. Before she could continue, Lioro placed the bag he was carrying on top of the reception. Opening it up, he revealed a huge amount of monster ears lying inside. A defeating silence enveloped the guild. "No way. Are those monster ears? Just how many did he kill?" The receptionist stared in a daze. The entire sack was filled to the brim with monster ears. Looking closely, she even saw some ogre ears mixed inside. Did you hunt all of these by yourself?" She couldn't help but ask. Just yesterday he registered as an adventurer and now he came back with so many monster ears. "Yes, I hunted all of them." The guild receptionist looked confused. After telling him to wait for a moment, she went inside to consult her superior. Lioro waited for her. Suddenly a red-haired woman appeared beside him and stared at his sack with beaming eyes. "Wow, did you really kill so many goblins? Shit, there's even some ogres in here." Lioro looked at her. She seemed familiar. She appeared to be around 20 or something, with wheat-colored skin and red hair trimmed short for easy movement. Her facial features weren't the best, but she had sharp eyes. Isn't she the potion woman? The one who received the red potion from Ains? "My name is Britta." "What's your name, little guy?" she said while looking curiously at Lioro. Lioro, how did you kill so many monsters?" she asked while pointing at his monster bag. "They were weak. Britta glanced at the ogre's ear in the mix. Scratching her head in confusion, she didn't know what to say. If an ogre was weak, then what was she? For a moment she looked at him in awakeness. Fortunately, the guild receptionist returned quickly along with a muscular man with white hair and a mustache. "Hello, I am Pluton Ainzok." Pluton looked at the monster's ears inside the sack. "Did you hunt all of these monsters?" "I did," Lioro replied plainly. "I heard you were a magic caster." "Yes, is there a problem?" Pluton fell silent and gave Lioro a deep look before saying to the receptionist, "Count the monster parts and give the reward accordingly." Turning his gaze, he looked at Lioro's copper plate. "And upgrade his rank to silver." The receptionist hurriedly nodded and started counting the monster's ears. After giving Lioro one last look, Pluton turned around and left. "This is my first time seeing the guildmaster," Britta on the side mentioned in a small voice. Lioro heard her but didn't say anything. He remembered the Adventurers Guild had some ties with the slain theocracy in the background. After the counting was finished, Lioro received 1 gold and 5 silver coins. Looking at the pitifully small amount in his hands, Lioro turned towards the receptionist in doubt. As if understanding his dilemma, she explained in a hurry. "A goblin is only 3 coppers. Lioro once again looked at the single gold coin. It seems it was time he gave up on his dream of becoming a goblin slayer. After taking his new silver plate, Lioro asked a question. "Is there any house for sale?" "House?" The receptionist looked at him in curiosity. "Yes, preferably one in the city's center. There are some places." Taking out a booklet from somewhere, she started going through it before mentioning several locations to Lioro. Lioro selected one that best matched his needs. The receptionist nodded and called another employee over. It seems the guild also worked as a property dealer. In no time a man in neat livery arrived before him and took him to see the house in question. The house in question was a 3-story building with an underground space made up of wood and stone with a small backyard at the back. It was located in the center of the city, near the marketplace. It also came with the basic furniture. Lioro liked it and decided to buy the place. It cost him 750 gold coins, instantly reducing his net worth by half. The professional member of the guild handled the rest, filling out the papers and everything else. After 3 hours he received the house's document stamped by the city official. And just like that he bought his first house in another world. Putting the house document in his prop box, Lioro entered his new place and closed the door. After that, he started taking out the goods he stole from the Magician's Guild. There were a total of 3 magic props and several scrolls. Looking at all of them lying in front of him, Lioro noticed a small problem. "I don't know what any of these do." He didn't know any identification spells. But he did have his own way of their use. Lioro picked up the wooden staff from the floor. The second-tier magic, Acid Arrow, has been discovered. It requires a basic magician profession and a level requirement of level 8 to 14. The current conditions are not met. Closing square bracket. Genius magician profession has been activated, conditions not met. Genius magician is level 4, at least level 8 is required to learn second-tier magic. Closing square bracket. Putting down the staff he picked up a crystal ball. The second-tier magic, Silence, has been discovered. It requires a basic magician profession and a level requirement of level 8 to 14. The current conditions are not met. Closing square bracket. Genius magician profession has been activated, conditions not met. Genius magician is level 4, at least level 8 is required to learn second-tier magic. Closing square bracket. Finally, he picked up the wizard-like hat. The first-tier magic, Lesser Mind Protection, has been discovered. It requires a basic magician profession and a level requirement of level 1 to 7. The current conditions are not met. Closing square bracket. Genius magician profession has been activated, the learning conditions are met. Do you want to consume 1 skill point to learn it? Unlike scrolls which were one-time consumables, magic props can be used repeatedly, though they have an everyday use limit. 10 comments 0 vote. Chapter 10. Real use of genius. High-level job. Cursed Knight. After understanding their use, Lioro placed the magic items back inside his prop box. Then using his power he vanished from his and appeared inside a familiar forest. It was time to farm again. Grabbing a sword from his inventory, he chose a direction, and then with a quick step, his body moved at an amazing speed enhanced by cursed energy. Not long after he came across his first prey. A group of 6 goblins along with 2 ogres. Along with a gust of wind, Lioro appeared before them, confusing the monsters, then before they could react he swung his sword, easily separating a goblin's head from his body. Seeing their comrade drop dead, the monsters finally reacted and rushed towards him with their weapons raised. Lioro tightly gripped his sword and met them head-on. What followed was a one-sided massacre. Infinity was too powerful. Experience slot. 2,512 3,000ths. After receiving that pitiful gold from the guild, Lioro decided not to waste his time collecting monster ears and instead focus solely on hunting. Stepping into the middle layer of the great forest of Tob, Lioro stopped and looked to his right. There he saw a towering monster more than twice his size, with a club in his hand. A troll, Lioro said, looking at the giant green stupid-looking monster with interest. At the same time, the troll also spotted him, letting out a loud cry. The monster rushed at him while swinging the massive club in his hand. The giant club came smashing down on Lioro, ready to turn him to mincemeat. Though it was stopped by Infinity at the next moment. Seeing the confusion in the troll's eyes, Lioro raised his sword, jumped, and went straight for the troll's neck. A bloody scene appeared as a fourth of the troll's neck was sliced through. Landing on the ground, Lioro turned back and saw an amazing scene. The bloody cut he just made on the troll's neck was healing itself at a pace visible to the naked eye. In less than 3 seconds it was patched up, but the troll started heaving heavily as if it had consumed a lot of stamina. While Lioro was looking at the troll with interest, he heard several footsteps coming from all around him. In no time 5 more trolls appeared and surrounded him at the center, looking down at him with a hungry gaze. "Is this my lucky day?" Lioro said as the corners of his mouth lifted up to form a small smile. Roar! The nearest troll let out a loud cry and smashed his club down at him. But what greeted him was a giant blue ball. Cursed technique. Blue. An attractive force spread out from blue, instantly uprooting the land and the trees around it along with the stunned troll. Lioro waved his hand and blue moved around him, making all 5 trolls float from the ground and orbit around blue in a funny fashion. Along with the cries of the 5 trolls, the sound of their breaking bones and rupturing skin also came out, forming a horrifying scene. With just one move, Blue flattened the area around him, uprooting all the trees and forming even ground. The last troll fell on his back. Seeing his comrades being played to death, he screamed in fear and ran away. Seeing the troll running away in a hurry, Lioro smiled and followed behind him. And as he expected, after some time the troll led him to the entrance of a huge cave which was being guarded by 2 trolls. Looking at their terrified comrade rushing toward them, the guard trolls were confused. But before they could react, a massive blue ball rushed toward them. An all-powerful attractive force acted on them, instantly lifting them from the ground. Now there were 7 trolls orbiting blue, constantly hitting each other, making blood and flesh flow out. Though none of it dropped on Lioro, who was enveloped by infinity. Listening to the terrible cries let out by the 7 suffering trolls, the cave in front of him rumbled before a group of trolls rushed out. He even saw a familiar troll among the group. What was his name? Goo or something? He was the one who said Ains had a weak name. Well, it didn't matter. Lioro was uninterested in having a conversation with a troll. He pointed his hand towards the cave, making blue rush straight at the trolls who tried to move away, but the attractive force of blue was simply too strong. Even their leader Goo was no exception. With a horrified look on his face, Goo was lifted from the ground under the strength of the cursed technique blue. Lioro looked at the giant ball of trolls above him. Even after all the breaking and grinding, not one of them died, their regeneration keeping up with the damage they were receiving. So Lioro looked at the stone cave the trolls came out of. An idea formed in his mind. Then under his control, Blue went towards the stone cave, its attractive force breaking the stones, but it didn't stop and went into the space carrying the terrified trolls with it. And instantly, a meat grinder was formed. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 363. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 323. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 373. Dash, 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 dash. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 2763. It seems all the tools were dead. Lioro dispersed cursed technique blue and walked up to the destroyed cave entrance. There he saw the corpses of several mutilated trolls. It was a terrible scene. But seeing the trolls' red blood constantly sipping out, Lioro tilted his head. An idea suddenly appeared in his mind because of a hint unconsciously given to him by his alchemy skill. Going forth, he collected the corpses of the trolls inside his prob box. After he was done, he looked at his experience value. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 18,763 3,000ths. His experience increased by a large margin. Lioro decided to level up the genius profession as it allowed him to learn various tier magics. Genius 1 LV to Genius 2 LV. He was just about to continue when something incredible happened. Alchemy skill is affected by Genius Alchemist level 8 inches. Suddenly a wide amount of information appeared in his brain, and the way of making potions using various materials appeared in his mind. Does the effect of alchemy increase with the increase in alchemist class? He just understood how to make several tier 1 type potions. Regeneration, poison, strength potion, agility potion. But that was just the beginning. Pharmaceutical skill is affected by genius pharmacist level 8 inches. His knowledge of pharmaceuticals also reached a new level. Combining the knowledge gained from the two skills, he was able to think of several substitute materials for the tier 1 potions. Lioro suddenly stopped, opening square bracket ... Triggering. Hi, job acquisition condition. A familiar screen appeared before his eyes. Conditions: Posse's cursed energy satisfied, Posse's warrior job unsatisfied, acquisition failed. Genius warrior profession has been activated, Posse's warrior job satisfied. Conditions met. Triggered the high job, Cursed Knight. Do you want to take the job? Lioro looked at the panel in confusion. Isn't Cursed Knight Shaltyr's job class? He remembers the player template of a few characters from Overlord, one of them being Shaltyr Bloodfallen. He remembers she has a special class named Valkyrie, along with the class Cursed Knight, and other racial classes. It was an unexpected turn of events. But the thing that surprised him the most was the general profession, Genius. Genius can substitute for basic classes when trying to acquire higher ones. All higher classes have a subclass requirement, such as the basic class swordsman being the prerequisite of middle class master swordsman. That is why no matter the player, even if he is the top ranker, will have many basic classes to support his build. Using a combination of specific classes they would be able to acquire one special class at the end of their career. But he could use the general profession to bypass those requirements. This means he doesn't need to spend levels on low-level classes. Instead, he could directly acquire middle, high, or even special classes based on their requirement. Lioro scratched his nose and looked back at the panel, saying silently in his mind. Yes, the high profession, Cursed Knight, was successfully employed. Occupation, Cursed Knight. Level, high, professional abilities. Passive abilities: complete curse resistance, immune to all curse-based attacks and effects. Dark attribute resistance, reduces dark attribute energy damage by 20%. Cursed user, when unleashing curse power. Superior equipment below level 40, durability loss is increased. Legendary equipment below level 80, suffers double durability reduction. Active ability: Dark Wave, releases a surge of dark curse energy, causing Fear Mind Shock, and Curse of Weakness restricted movement on all enemies within range. Negative states are removed after the attack, dealing double damage. Career skills: Level 3, Cursed Wounds, curse-inflicted damage cannot be healed by low-level magic, and all recovery effects are suppressed. Level 5, Death's Mark, curse damage includes an instant death effect on weaker targets. Growth bonus: for each level increased, HP, physical attack, physical defense, and magic defense all increased by 15 points. Introduction: a forsaken warrior bound to the shadows, the Cursed Knight is a feared entity that dooms all who stand in its path. Clad in shattered armor and wielding a cursed blade, they wander endlessly, spreading corruption and despair. Those who encounter them find themselves trapped in a cycle of suffering, unable to escape the fate of their decaying souls. Lioro instantly felt the change within him. Various new applications of cursed energy which he didn't know before entered his mind. Suddenly he took out a sword from his inventory and channeled his curse energy. Under his control, the sword was covered by a layer of almost invisible black energy. It was something similar to a sword aura he saw in the fiction before. Before he could only strengthen his body with curse energy, but now he can also envelop his weapons with it. Although, under Lioro's calm eyes, he saw several small cracks appear on the sword. Passive ability: Cursed user, it decreases weapon durability. Lioro suddenly retracted cursed energy from the sword and the cracks instantly stopped forming. Durability only decreases when I envelop the weapon in cursed energy. Similarly, the effect of Cursed Wounds and Death Mark will only apply when he uses cursed energy. After thinking for a moment, Lioro decided to upgrade the high-level job Cursed Knight first. There was a reason for it. Isn't high class Cursed Knight a prerequisite for special class Valkyrie? From the part of Shaltier's player template that was revealed, he remembered, Cursed Knight, being the only high job class. And considering the fact that Genius can replace basic classes, he should be able to gain the special class, Valkyrie. Under his control, the level of the high class, Cursed Knight, increased. Cursed Knight 1 LV to Cursed Knight 5 LV. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 763 7/1000ths. Ignoring the increase in his strength, Lioro stared unblinkingly at the panel. Some time passed by, but nothing happened, just when he was thinking it was a dud. Opening square bracket ... Triggered special job acquisition. Conditions: Posse's high-class Cursed Knight 5 LV passed, Posse's cleric failed, Posse's class, failed. Condition: failed, Genius profession has taken effect. Conditions met, triggered the special job, Valkyrie. Do you want to take the job? Lioro's figure shook in excitement. Yes. Dark curse energy suddenly erupted, emitting a terrifying aura that madly gushed out of Lioro's body. After a moment, it turned into a black mist that was as solid as a substance, wrapping Lioro's whole body. The overflowing curse energy spread out in all directions with Lioro as the center, and a large number of trees and vegetation began to turn yellow and dry up. But this process did not last long. A dazzling milky white light emerged and flickered from the black fog, and then the dark curse energy began to collapse and dissipate. It was a transformation. The power of the curse was transforming into milky white sacred light energy at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lioro felt this process clearly. He seemed to be able to hear the faint hum of resentment in the curse energy, like one person, or like countless people. And this divine power dispelled it as if completing some kind of redemption. Boom. Asterisk. In an instant, the black curse energy completely disappeared, and the milky white light enveloped Lioro's whole body, turning into tiny energy spots, blending into the skin and disappearing. Vaguely, Lioro saw a figure rushing towards him. Occupation: Valkyrie. Level: Special. Professional abilities. Passive abilities. Additional weapon expertise. Upon leveling up, select one of 3 weapon types: slashing, blunt, or piercing to gain additional mastery. Aura of Courage. Attacks contain divine damage. The first attack in close combat is always a critical hit. Divine Blessing. All negative status effects are reduced by 50%. Dark Attribute Resistance. Reduces dark attribute energy damage by 20%. Holy Attribute Resistance. Reduces holy attribute energy damage by 20%. Active ability. Guided Oath of Redemption. If an enemy attack requires a damage immunity check and you fail, you can ignore the failure result, granting damage immunity. Cooldown: 10 days. Career Skills. Level 1, Heroic Spirit. Einherjar creates a heroic spirit with similar stats to the user, unable to use magic but possesses all of the user's physical skills along with equipment. Can only summon one at a time, if destroyed. Cooldown time, 1 day. Level 3, Negative Impact Shield 2 per day, a defensive counterattack that negates a portion of incoming damage while dealing divine retaliation. Level 5, Sacred Throwing Lance 3 per day, create a spear with sacred attributes, launch a long-range attack on the opponent, and damage caused equal to the current magic attack value. Can inflict a curse on the opponent on hit. Consumes 50 megapixels and can cause a guaranteed hit effect. Growth bonus. For each level increased, HP, MP, physical attack, physical defense, magic attack, magic defense, and agility increased by 20 points. Introduction. A divine warrior of unwavering conviction, the Valkyrie walks the battlefield with divine purpose. Whether guided by the will of the gods or personal ambition, they stand as both judge and executioner, delivering fate upon those deemed worthy of battle. A beacon of righteous fury, or a fanatic blinded by faith, only time will tell. Special classes were indeed in a league of their own. Lioro took in a deep breath and then released it. Opening his mouth, he said in a small voice, Einherjar. A white spot of light came out of his body, taking a form identical to his own, but in complete white. Lioro raised his hand and touched the heroic spirit, a complete copy of his own. It's quite smooth. Clicking his tongue, he looked at the 6 eyes of Einherjar. Unfortunately, it doesn't have infinity. Since it couldn't use magic, the 6 eyes only worked as a decoration. He tried giving an order. Do a handstand. It did a handstand. Lioro blinked his eyes. Roll around in circles. It started rolling around on the ground. Scratching his chin, Lioro pointed toward the forest and said, "Go and kill everything you see." Einherjar got up from the ground and ran straight toward the forest. And not long after, open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 23. A familiar screen appeared before his eyes. 12 comments 0 vote. Chapter 11. Making Potions. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 21. Lioro silently observed the experience notification that occasionally appeared before him. It seemed he had successfully found a way to auto-hunt. Ignoring the message, he activated Gojo's powers and vanished, instantly teleporting back to his newly purchased house in Erantel. Opening the door, he stepped outside and made his way straight to the Magician's Guild. As he approached, several guards stationed outside fixed their gazes on him, but Lioro remained calm, walking into the guild without any trouble. Behind the counter sat a black-haired apprentice, unfamiliar to Lioro. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and made his request. "Hello, I would like to purchase these items." The apprentice blinked in confusion before bringing out several types of flasks along with other alchemical supplies. Lioro smiled and quickly handed over 2 gold coins in exchange for the equipment. After that, he visited a few other stores, purchasing various additional items before returning home. Locking the door behind him, he made his way down to the basement. Placing his newly acquired supplies on the ground, Lioro opened his prop box and retrieved the mutilated corpse of a troll. Instantly, the strong stench of blood filled the basement. Interestingly, his infinity technique blocked the smell, preventing it from overwhelming him. With swift movements, he collected the troll's blood in a wooden bucket. Guided by his alchemy skill, he carefully arranged the flasks, poured the troll's blood into them, and started a controlled fire beneath them. As the blood began to boil, Lioro used magic to refine the process, separating impurities and enhancing its potency. Within less than a minute, the troll's blood deepened to a richer shade of red. Satisfied, Lioro stopped supplying magic and carefully poured the crimson liquid into a small glass bottle. Shaking the bottle slightly, he examined its contents. This was completely different from the health potions produced by the residents of this world. It was a Tier 1 health potion. To test its effectiveness, Lioro drew a knife and made a small incision on his arm. Ignoring the pain, he poured a few drops of the potion onto the wound. Almost instantly, the cut began to heal, and within seconds, it had completely vanished. Its effectiveness far surpassed the standard blue potions. For convenience, let's classify the blue ones as Tier 0 health potions. A smirk played on Lioro's lips as realization struck him. "I am, without a doubt, the best potion maker in the kingdom of Re-Estais." Without wasting any more time, he retrieved the remaining troll corpses from his prop box, quickly collecting their blood, and began mass-producing Tier 1 health potions. With the magic reduction granted by 6 eyes, combined with his insane recovery speed, he didn't even need to rest. 2 hours passed. Lioro finally ceased his extraction and glanced at his inventory. After using only a third of the troll corpses, he had successfully crafted 170 Tier 1 health potions. Just then, he noticed something. His connection with the heroic spirit Einherjar had been severed. As expected, it only mimics my physical attributes. It has no way to heal itself and fights like a mindless beast without any sense of self-preservation. Sighing, Lioro checked his experience pool. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 2,963 7,000ths. He had gained about 2,000 experience points. I wonder if Einherjar could use martial arts skills. Since they're purely physical, it might be possible. Martial arts were techniques developed by the inhabitants of the New World. Unlike spells, they didn't consume mana. Abilities like ability boost, body strengthening, and flow acceleration came to mind. Lioro believed that martial arts seemed underwhelming in the series simply because they were used by weak individuals. Imagine if someone with the stats of a level 100 player used Unglaus's ability, Field, against Shaltir. Nail Clipper. More like Head Splitter. The same could be said for Gazef. No matter how talented a person was, an ant could never defeat an elephant. At best, it could bite the inside of the elephant's nose and cause mild irritation. Let's add learning martial arts to the agenda. After storing everything back inside his prop box, Lioro vanished in a flash, teleporting back to the Great Forest of Tob. He was determined to upgrade his special profession as soon as possible. Moving swiftly, he headed toward the site where nkcthereaper had been defeated. Along the way, he noticed the lifeless bodies of goblins and ogres scattered about. After a few minutes of running, he arrived at a battlefield where a fierce struggle had clearly taken place. Several trees lay broken, evidence of the clash between two powerful creatures. As he examined the scene, a blood trail caught his attention. Following the trail at full speed, he eventually came across a large creature lying on the ground, breathing heavily. Hamsuk. Lioro's eyes widened slightly. It was the same monster from the series, the oversized hamster Ains had taken as a pet. Right now, however, Hamsuk was in dire condition, blood gushing from a deep wound in his abdomen. Lioro hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. Hearing approaching footsteps, Hamsuk sluggishly turned his head. A bloody cut stretched across his left eye. Ha, human. You seem familiar. Hamsuk suddenly froze, his eyes widening in shock as he stared at Lioro. Why do you look like that white thing from before? Noticing his fearful expression, Lioro took another step forward. Because that white thing was my summon, he replied. And no way. Hamsuke's voice trembled with despair as he tried to crawl backward. However, his injuries made movement impossible. Watching Lioro approach, he quickly panicked. Wait, strong one. Please don't kill me, I haven't even reproduced yet. Lioro ignored his words and continued walking toward him. Stop, I'll be your servant, please. Okay, Lioro replied, patting Hamsuke's head. Quote? Hamsuk blinked in confusion. You'll be my pet from now on. Pet, do you have any objections? And no, of course not, master. Hearing the shift in Hamsuke's tone, Lioro nodded approvingly and retrieved a healing potion from his inventory. Uncorking the bottle, he pried open Hamsuke's mouth and poured the liquid inside. Goo. What is this, master? Ignoring his confusion, Lioro took out another bottle and poured the potion onto Hamsuke's wounded eye. Within moments, the injury disappeared, his eye and abdomen completely healed. Master, is this magic? Hamsuk exclaimed excitedly. It's a healing potion, Lioro corrected as he casually rubbed Hamsuke's fur. You're the wise king of the forest, aren't you? Yes, master, I am the wise king of the forest. Hamsuk stood proudly on his hind legs before hesitating. But, why do you ask, that you are? Ignoring his theatrics, Lioro pointed at him. From now on, you'll be called Hamsuk. Hamsuk. Hamsuk tilted his head. It means, war general, in the east. Lioro lied with a straight face. War general. Hamsuke's eyes sparkled with excitement. This one shall be called Hamsuk from now on, that he is. Lioro smirked, satisfied that Hamsuk had accepted his new name. Hamsuk, you know where all the monsters in this forest live, don't you? Of course, master. I know every place in the great forest. Then take me to them. Right away, master. Under Hamsuke's lead, Lioro soon arrived at a goblin encampment. Look, master, there it is. Good work. Raising his hand, Lioro conjured hollow purple. Hamsuk trembled as he felt the immense power radiating from the orb. Master, what is that? A little gift for the goblins, Lioro said, releasing the sphere. Under Hamsuke's horrified gaze, the goblin village was obliterated in an instant. Turning toward his new pet, Lioro spoke calmly. Let's move on to the next one. A chill ran down Hamsuke's spine. Why yes, right away, master. 10 comments 0 vote. Chapter 12. Horrified Hamsuk. Peas, if you like the fanfic then leave some reviews and power stones. Hamsuk stood in silence, watching yet another monster village reduced to ruins before his eyes. By now, he had grown accustomed to his new master's relentless massacres across the great forest of Tob. The same, however, could not be said for the trembling demon snake beside him, one of the 3 rulers of the forest, the demon snake of the west, Ryrarius Spenia I Indarun. Indarun had noticed Lioro's overwhelming power shortly after the slaughter began in the western forest. Realizing resistance was futile, he surrendered immediately. Lioro accepted his submission, using him as a guide for the region. With 2 of the 3 great rulers now serving him, Lioro's extermination of the monsters proceeded with chilling efficiency. Master, are you planning to kill all the monsters? The demon snake's voice wavered as he gazed upon the smoldering remains of a kobold village, decimated by hollow purple. Lioro turned to him, his expression indifferent. I'm leaving many alive, he replied, pointing to the scattered survivors, less than 10% of the original village. Indarun swallowed dryly, his scales twitching in fear as he stared at Lioro. What was your name again, Snake? It's Ryrarius Spenia I Indarun, Master. That's too long. That. From now on, you'll be called Fang. Indarun, now Fang, blinked in stunned silence, unsure how to react. Take me to the next monster gathering, Fang. Right away, Master. Rubbing his hands together in submission, Fang quickly guided Lioro and Hamsuk to the next village. After flattening several more goblin and kobold settlements under Fang's lead, Lioro arrived at a vast lake. A sense of déjà vu washed over him. This place seems familiar, he murmured. Master, this is where the lizardmen live, Fang informed him. Lioro's eyes glowed. I remember there being 5 tribes. Yes, Master. The Green Claw, Dragon Tusk, Red Eye, Small Fang, and Razor Tail tribes. Which one is in front of us? Lioro asked, gesturing at the wooden huts in the distance. I can't tell from here, Master, Fang admitted, rubbing his head. Lioro touched his chin, glancing at the sun. There were still a few hours before sunset, enough time to wipe out all 5 tribes. Let's go meet the lizardmen. Dragon Tusk Lizardmen Tribe. I see an intruder. A loud clanking rang throughout the village as the guards spotted Lioro, accompanied by Hamsuk and Fang. Within moments, over 200 lizardmen gathered, including 2 druids. A towering 2.3-meter-tall lizardman stepped forward, a crimson insignia on his chest, gripping a massive halberd. I am Zinbaru Gugu, chieftain of the Dragon Tusk tribe. State your purpose, human. His sharp gaze flickered between the 2 creatures beside Lioro, lingering on Hamsuk. A wave of unease crawled up his spine as he tightened his grip on his weapon. Lioro's eyes briefly swept over the crowd before he asked in a calm voice. Have you gathered all your tribesmen? A sudden chill crawled down Zinbaru's back. He gritted his teeth and barked, what do you mean by? Before he could finish, hollow purple pierced through his body, disintegrating his abdomen instantly. The lizardmen froze, their minds struggling to process what had just happened. Open hollow corner bracket experience gained, 1963. Lioro guided hollow purple with surgical precision, weaving through the village, cutting down lizardmen in droves. Arg, what is this? A volley of arrows and Tier 1 shark stone spells hurtled toward him. Hamsuk casually swung his tail, swatting away the projectiles like mere flies. Seeing their attacks prove useless and their kin slaughtered before their eyes, the 2 druids collapsed to their knees, crying out in desperation. Human mage, spare us. Hollow purple silenced them. A handful of lizardmen attempted to flee. Lioro turned to Fang. Capture them. Yes, Master. Fang slithered forward, activating invisibility. The 2nd-tier magic, invisibility, has been discovered. It requires a basic magician profession and a level requirement of 8 to 14. The current conditions are not met. Genius magician profession has been activated. Transformation successful. The learning conditions are met. Do you want to consume 1 skill point to learn it? Invisibility was useful. Yes. Learned magic, invisibility. 1 skill point spent. The knowledge of the spell instantly imprinted itself in Lioro's mind. As the massacre neared its end, Lioro approached the 10 remaining survivors, who trembled under Fang's grasp. Please, mighty one. Spare us. A young lizardman pleaded, shielding his younger brother. You have a treasure? Lioro asked flatly. Why yes. A pot that produces endless wine. Lioro raised a brow. Wine. The lizardman trembled but pushed forward. We will give it to you. Just let us live. Lioro considered this for a moment before nodding. All right. Hope flickered in their eyes. Go fetch the treasure and tell me where the other tribes are. Then I'll let you go. The young lizardman hesitated but, seeing Lioro's blank expression, quickly ran toward the chieftain's house. Moments later, he returned, struggling to carry a massive wine pot. Lioro studied it with interest. The pot was nearly as tall as he was. Hamsuk, come here. Hamsuk tilted his head before stepping forward. The moment he did, Lioro stepped on his face and jumped onto his back, peering inside the pot. Master, why did you hit Hamsuke's nose? That you did. Hamsuk whined in protest. Lioro ignored him, pulling off the cloth covering the pot. Inside, it was filled to the brim with cheap-smelling wine. A familiar panel appeared before his eyes. Item. Magical items. Utility. Great wine pot. Level. Common. No level restriction. Restrictions. None. Effects. Magical wine production. Passive. Generates low-quality wine by spending magic. Introduction. A legendary artifact among drunkards, this pot never runs dry, though the taste leaves much to be desired. Lioro stared at the pot. So this was the fabled artifact of drunkards. Turning back to the lizardmen, he asked, "Tell me where the other tribes are." The young lizardman bowed his head and hurriedly gave up their locations. Lioro nodded and waved his hand. "All right, you're free to go." The survivors exchanged nervous glances before cautiously getting up. Taking slow steps at first, they soon broke into a full sprint, vanishing into the forest. Lioro stored the wine pot inside his prop box and continued toward the next lizardman village.